Part 35. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 341. Song Jia didn't mutter loudly, and immediately explained, he won't get divorced. Then find someone else. But I don't want to find anyone else. Lu Yan felt that there seemed to be some logical problems with this sentence. Song Jia said she didn't want to find anyone else. Does your subconscious want to be like Li Yuan? In this case, why would she fall in love or even live together with a boy who is far inferior to Li Yuan? Song Jia also noticed the loopholes in the logic of her words from her mother's expression, and quickly explained, Mom, I confessed my love to Li Yuan originally, but unfortunately Li Yuan said that he already had a child, and it was okay to fall in love, but not maybe get married. It happened that a boy who had been chasing me for a long time was in Zhangzhou, and then, I ran to him in a fit of anger. When Lu Yan heard these words, she wanted to beat Song Jia with hatred. Are you stupid? Even if Li Yuan can't do it, he can't do anything wrong to himself. Song Jia breathed a sigh of relief, but still hesitated and said, I'm sorry, I won't do it anymore. Oh, you are not sorry for me, you are sorry for yourself. You are making fun of your own life. I don't want to either. Who asked that guy Li Yuan to let me be his mistress? How can I be so angry? It's his fault. Didn't they force you? At least they confessed to you that they already had a child. If they were really scumbags, they wouldn't tell you at all and tricked you into sleeping with them. Aren't you still helpless against him? Song Jia. Lu Yan realized that what she said was wrong and quickly explained, I'm not saying that he did this well, I just said that you shouldn't be impulsive because of this matter, and it will ruin your life. Song Jia muttered, now I don't know if Li Yuan is still willing to let me be a mistress. This time, it's a little clearer. Disaster. Huh? Mom, what did you say? Lu Yan hurriedly said, no, how can you do that kind of thing? Even if Li Yuan is the richest man in the world, you can't do it? Obedient, we can't elevate someone's character just because they are rich. It is a fact that they have poor character. But you just said that my character is good. A good character can make you work as his mistress? You make it clear that you don't want to be responsible. But at least he said it in advance. Then he is afraid that you will sue him. If he doesn't tell you in advance, and you sue him in the end, he will be committing a crime. Mom, I'm already 25. That's also cheating. Cheating isn't a crime, is it? Lu Yan. Midnight. Lu Yan suddenly whispered, if it's Li Yuan's, it's actually not that difficult to accept. Song Jia, who was lying under the quilt, felt a twitch in her heart. He hugged his mother tightly and looked much more relaxed. Song Dalong woke up at around 10 o'clock the next morning. He didn't have much memory of what happened last night, except that he came here to drink and drank too much. After all, it was the richest family, and even he would not be willing to drink the wine brought out. After all, I don't have much money all year round. If he didn't sell stocks, he would only get a few million a year. He would drink more than 10 or 200,000 in wine and probably wouldn't even be able to eat. As soon as he got up and came out, Li Wan he had already rushed back from outside and said hurriedly, Brother Song, are you awake? Let's have some breakfast first. I have made arrangements for lunch. Song Dalong was confused. Ah. Are there any arrangements? Brother, am I too intrusive? He remembered that Li Wan he helped him get benefits at the wine table last night. It has to be said that one drink led to a project worth hundreds of millions. No matter what, he felt that he had made a profit. Li Wan he hurriedly said, hey, where are you? Today, Lao Zhou is treating Zhou Ran and her father Zhou Yifang. I should be impressed, right? Song Dalong, yes. How could one not know Zhou Yufang? Who doesn't know that his daughter is now the eldest sister of King He? In King He County, there is nothing that Zhou Ranran can't do. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Zhou Ranran is where she is today only by following Li Yuan. However, the matter of the child has not spread yet, and many people do not know that Zhou Ranran has a child. People familiar with the matter have never stopped speculating privately. The so-called rich second-generation boyfriend has not shown up yet. Let's go to Lao Zhou's house. Breakfast is already ready. Song Dalong. Before he could speak, he was already pulled out by Li Wanhe. He obviously has something else to do today. Isn't it just a gift of a pig? In his impression, there was no gold bar stuffed in the pig. Why was he treated like this? Could it be that the recent lockdown has made these people depressed? Finally met a stranger from the village like myself? You have a good relationship with Li Yuan, so you can eat and drink as much as you like. Along the way, Song Dalong was looking for reasons. Brother, where are my wife and children? They've already passed. Brother, I really have something to do today. If you have anything to do, just say it, don't delay us drinking, let Ran Ran help you take care of the matter, brother. Song Dalong said nothing. He wants to take his daughter to have an abortion. Can someone else do this? Oh, okay, I don't care about this day. Eat and drink. Song Dalong finally experienced the life of rich people, although he was not poor. But it's really not as luxurious as this village. Zhou Ranran's house has a specially built seafood ecological tank of more than 30 square meters and more than 2 meters high. All kinds of precious seafood in it are all fresh and airlifted. The various equipment and daily maintenance costs alone are worth less than a few thousand yuan. Not to mention that the good wine at home seems to be free of charge. I opened a bottle of MT80 last night and came again today, and there were still 2 bottles. Song Dalong drank and became confused again. We talked about something else during the dinner, and it was Li Wanhe who took the initiative to bring it up, saying that Zhou Ranran had established several ecological plantations in King He County and wanted to cooperate with Song Corporation. I didn't go into details, I just mentioned the scale. If you cooperate with Song Corporation, you can earn hundreds or tens of millions a year. Everything is so baffling. Song's shares suddenly seemed to be very valuable. On the 3rd day, Song Dalong made up his mind to finish the matter. As a result, Li Wanhe called him over again early in the morning, saying that his old leader wanted to see him. Before he understood what was going on, he saw Zhang Yuanqiao, and then eat, drink. Not only Zhou Yufang came to accompany him, but other families in the village also arranged for people to come over. It was only at this time that Song Dalong realized how awesome Zhang Yuanqiao was, and also found out that Li Yuan's fiancée was the granddaughter of this old man. Everything was so logical, and it was not unfair at all for Song Jiajia to lose to such a person. If he were Li Yuan, he wouldn't choose Song Jiajia. After all, the Song family really doesn't have that background. There is still something gained, at least I can have a few words with such an old man. It also made him realize how absurd his previous ideas were. Indeed, as long as he transfers his shares to Song Jiajia, there are not many girls in the world who are richer than Song Jiajia. But this world is not just about money, there are other things. Li Yuan will definitely choose a better one, and there are many options to choose from. The obsession in his heart was gone, but the child still had to be beaten, otherwise Song Jiajia's life would be delayed in the future. On the 4th day, he thought the matter was over, but Li Yuan's birthday came again. Good guy, he didn't even know why the village was so excited. Li Yuan, the client, didn't even come, so Li Wanhe helped him celebrate his birthday. After another day of commotion, he thought nothing would happen on the 5th day, right? However, on the 5th day, Zhang Yuling was born. It was 1 day earlier than the due date, but it was not a big problem. The village is lively again. Zhang Yuanqiao even took out all the old wine he had collected. Those wines are basically impossible to buy on the market. On this day, Li Yuan came forward, and Song Dalong drank again. On the sixth day, Song Dalong made a special note and said that he could not delay it any longer no matter what. However, Lu Yan took Song Jiajia away directly, saying that she respected her daughter's choice. If Song Dalong didn't agree, the couple would wait until the child was born before coming back. Song Dalong was so angry that he ran away and yelled at the phone for more than 10 minutes. Li Wan, he is here again. I chatted with him for a whole day, sharing my experience of having a grandson. Song Dalong didn't have a lot of experience in raising children. After all, he didn't take care of Song Jiajia much when she was a child. Although I don't want to hear it now, some knowledge just enters the brain in a strange way. After the chat, without eating or drinking, Li Wan he said he was going to the hospital and arranged for Song Dalong to have dinner at Zhou Yifang's house. How could Song Dalong continue to stay here? He just found an excuse and went back. When I got home, the anger was still there. I called Song Jiajia. Song Jiajia, I don't care what ecstasy soup you poured into your mother. Anyway, get back here right now. Song Jiajia said, Dad, if you don't force me to have an abortion, I will go back. You are rebelling, aren't you? You still dare to negotiate terms with me? Do you believe that I will directly deprive you of your qualifications as an heir and I will not leave you a penny in the future? I didn't intend to. Well, you are really my father's good daughter. Now that your wings are strong, you don't see me as your father anymore, right? Song Dalong has never felt so frustrated. His biological daughter said such words to him, which made him feel that all his efforts were meaningless. Especially when the wife was looking towards her daughter and ran away secretly with her. There was no one in the whole family, and he was the only old bachelor left. It's you who keeps forcing me. Hearing this, Song Dalong lost his temper inexplicably. I just hung up the phone and sat on the sofa. He never forced Song Jiajia to do anything. Other families would teach all kinds of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, but he did not put such pressure on Song Jiajia. When she goes to college, it's her choice, just give her money, and don't care whether she's happy or not. Later, after graduation, even if Song Jiajia was willful and insisted on finding a job by herself, he did not stop her. When he ran into trouble outside and asked for living expenses from home, he turned around silently without saying a word. Even though he was particularly covetous of Li Yuan, his son-in-law, he never forced Song Jiajia to do anything, and he never really blamed Song Jiajia for not seizing the opportunity. That's my daughter, what's so weird? If his daughter is unhappy, does he feel happy? Song Jiajia's words today completely broke his heart. In a daze, he realized that he and his daughter were already in two different worlds. This time, his attitude was really tough because he didn't want Song Jiajia's life to be completely ruined. It's just that for a person with his personality, he is very reserved in expressing any feelings. Unexpectedly, my daughter immediately labeled her as I've been pushing her. After an unknown amount of time, his phone rang. When he saw it was Lu Yan's, he hung up immediately. However, Lu Yan called again. This time, he gritted his teeth and answered. Lu Yan said, "Have you eaten? Eat your shit and starve to death." I called Lao Er. They left some food for you. Go and eat something quickly. I'll be back in a while. If you don't abort that child, don't come back. You don't want to be a grandpa anymore. I'm such a bastard grandpa, I'll be cut off for the rest of my life. Lu Yan, that's my fault. Forget it, I don't want to talk to you now. Tell Song Jiajia that I will not change my mind on this matter, never. As long as she dares to give birth to the child, I will give you a dime of Song's shares. I won't leave it to her. I won't leave the Song family's money to a boy who doesn't even know who his father is. You really haven't cared about your daughter for too long. Song Dalong, I don't care about her yet. I just have to hold her in my mouth. What I regret most in this life is that I was too nice to her and let her do such a shameful thing. In Song Dalong's view, if the tutoring had been stricter and Song Jiajia had been more harsh, the incident might not have happened. Then do you know Jiajia's situation? What's going on? What's going on with her working condition? What a crap job. She was still asking me for living expenses at the beginning of last year. How can she find a good job with her crappy major? It's just a matter of working in this company for a while and that company for a while. She didn't ask me for living expenses in the second half of the year, but it must be you gave it in private. I don't. She has her own salary. Is it such a big deal for you to find a job to support yourself now that you are so old? Oh, it seems you really don't know. I just discovered that Jiajia is already very powerful. That's awesome. Our old Song family doesn't have that gene. Don't believe it, anyway. I think her work momentum is much better than yours. When you work, besides yelling, what else do you do? You just don't do this thing well all day long. That person is a waste, so my conscience has been eaten by a dog. Looking at Jiajia, she has always done things in an orderly manner, planned everything in advance, and gave instructions to employees in a calm tone. What do you know? Some people have to be ruthless to be obedient. Otherwise, you will be submissive and procrastinating when doing things. No matter how good the business is, it will be ruined by you. Song Dalong has never doubted his management level, otherwise would Song's shares be where they are now? Which of my brothers and sisters can manage well? He is a serious technical secondary school student. End of chapter. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 342. The management of a large enterprise is very complex. After Lu Yan came to Zhangzhou and Song Jiajia had an office environment, she quickly started to get busy. For most of the day, Lu Yan had gone to the study several times to see that Song Jiajia was extremely calm when working, and basically showed no emotions. To a certain extent, isn't Li Yuan just like this character? It's just that Song Jiajia manages the company, while Li Yuan manages life. From many details, I can see that my daughter has really grown up, although she still has a girlish feeling when facing her parents. She knew very well what kind of company Bixin was. She had been using this software recently. After all, there are too many scams in other software, and she has been deceived many times. They are basically trying to sell dog meat, no matter how high or low the price is. She also knew that Jushin Media was a company under Li Yuan's name, but she didn't know the details. Song Jiajia is the major shareholder of Jushin Media and the vice president of Bixin. In the evening, she brought Song Jiajia supper and said at the same time, "Jiajia, do you work so late every day?" Song Jiajia said with a smile, "My job is quite light." Li Yuan wakes up every day with a lot of documents in front of him, and then he doesn't dare to eat more. He has to work intensively for 7 hours at night until 5 in the morning. At 5:30, I feel so hungry and dizzy every time I get off work. Lu Yan was startled. "Why don't you eat something? If you eat too much, your brain will slow down, and a single oversight may cost him a lot of money." Lu Yan sighed. "It's not that easy to be the richest man." Song Jiajia took a mouthful of food, showed an expression of enjoyment, and added, "His goal is not the richest man. If he wanted to, he would have been the richest man in the world. The little money he earned from staying up late was basically given to others." Give others? Well, it should be the social security and pension institutions that specifically entrusted him. Anyway, he should have earned more than 1 trillion yuan for those institutions in the past 3 years. In fact, Song Jia didn't know this, but she felt that there should be. Saying this is nothing more than making my mother feel more comfortable. People like to find reasons for themselves. Since things cannot be changed, if you can find some good reasons, you will definitely feel better. Everyone, small family, is actually a home. Now that the small family atmosphere is gone, it is a comfort to consider everyone's feelings. Lu Yan was indeed shocked by the news, and many things began to make sense in her mind. For example, why did Song Jia fall in love with Li Yuan even though she knew he had a girlfriend? She is obviously in such a mess now, why hasn't she told Li Yuan yet? You can make money, you are handsome, and you are really likable. But if there is great love, extraordinary love, it can basically make many people desperate. It was because of this that Song Jia stayed with Li Yuan at all costs. From questioning to understanding, it only takes one sentence. But there was still no way to tell Song Dalong about this matter, because Song Dalong didn't care whose child it was. What if it was Li Yuan's? He was determined to chase him to the door and seek justice from Li Yuan. Underneath his stubborn appearance, he is actually very fragile, and he certainly cannot accept the current situation. Otherwise she wouldn't have run away with Song Jia. The second day after returning home, Song Dalong took the initiative to call Lu Yan. Are you going back or not? You're not going back, right? Then I'll leave too, and this family is over. Lu Yan said, Jia and I have to go to the Magic City, so you have to suffer for a few days. Song Dalong, why am I wronged? What did I do wrong? If that girl did something wrong, she still has to be coaxed, right? There's no need to coax her. Jia doesn't need to be coaxed. I just don't trust her to live alone. Whose wife are you? What's wrong? Are you jealous? Haha, I'm telling you, I'm going to stop your credit card. If you can, don't come back. Song Dalong would never admit that he was jealous. How could Lu Yan not know Song Dalong's temper, so she said, are you going to starve us two to death? Then why didn't anyone care about me when I was starving to death? Didn't I contact the second brother's family for you? How can you, a grown man, starve to death? Isn't it embarrassing to say that it's embarrassing to go out? I don't like to eat other people's food. I would rather starve to death than eat it. After finishing speaking, Song Dalong hung up the phone. He felt that Lu Yan would definitely come to find him in less than 2 days. The third day. Song Dalong, the credit card has been stopped for you. Lu Yan replied, Song Dalong, don't go too far. The more you do this, the less we will go back. Song Dalong snickered after hanging up the phone. The fourth day. Song Dalong, how much money do you still have on hand? Jia's salary shouldn't be enough, right? Lu Yan, it's good that you know. Please unlock my credit card quickly. Song Dalong smiled even happier after hanging up the phone. This is the right of being the head of the family, and it is also the only place where a middle-aged man can be guilty. He is not young anymore. Even if he is angry, he must control it within a reasonable range. It is impossible to say things like divorce, which is not suitable for his age. Day 5. Song Dalong, how long are you going to hold on? Lu Yan, I couldn't hold it anymore for a long time. I bought some groceries early this morning and spent more than 400. I didn't even want to buy the big cherries when I saw them. Didn't you ask for this? When did your family ever lack money? I'm worried about Jia. Oh. Song Dalong hung up the phone. It can be seen that Lu Yan's attitude has begun to change. This is a good thing. Lu Yan will definitely have to come back in half a month at most, and even Song Jia will have to come back to admit her mistake. Day 6. Before Song Dalong could call Lu Yan called her. Husband, please transfer some money to me quickly. Jia and I came to Shanghai. Who knew that a taxi cost more than 500 yuan, and various tests cost 2000 yuan? Now we don't even have a place to live. When Song Dalong heard this, he immediately said, "Why are you going to the devil's capital? Are you crazy? What if Jia's body is infected now? I don't care about that little thing." Lu Yan said, "What can I do? Jia company will arrange a business trip. Then let the company reimburse you. The company's reimbursement has to wait until the matter is over. Aren't they all paid in advance? Just for that salary, is it worth it? If you don't give me money, we too can't starve to death, can we? If you don't give it, you won't get a penny." Song Dalong couldn't understand that these two women would rather endure hardship than admit their mistakes. He was so angry. Lu Yan said aggrievedly, "We don't even have money for food now. Food is very expensive in Magic City, and accommodation. It will take several days, many hotels are closed, and those that are open are particularly expensive. Don't pretend to be pitiful, don't give it, don't give it." Song Dalong hung up the phone. This time there was no snickering, but a little irritation. After thinking about it, an hour later, he gave Lu Yan 2000 yuan. "Don't give him too much. If you give him too much, these two women will forget about him. Give them 2000 yuan first to let them survive the day." After the money was sent, Lu Yan called and said with a smile, "Thank you, husband. Jia and I went to have dinner. You should also remember to eat." Hearing the happiness in the words, Song Dalong felt that he had given too much. "I should only give you 1000 yuan. No more tomorrow." So, the seventh day came. Lu Yan called again. "Husband, woohoo, I have no money again, the room fee is 1050, and a meal is more than 300. Song Dalong immediately said, "I won't give it to you. Or I'll buy you a ticket and come back now." "No, Jia is very busy today, and the company has big things for her to do tomorrow." "What a heck? Is her job rare at home? Come back quickly and I'll give her whatever salary you want." "Okay, I'll talk to her later, but I have to wait until she finishes this matter, right? Husband, we are so pitiful." Song Dalong's scalp felt numb. Lu Yan has never acted coquettishly with him in her life. It would be great if you could act like a baby in front of your face. "I'll give you 1080, nothing else." "Okay, thank you husband." After the money was transferred, Song Dalong began to regret it again because Lu Yan stopped calling him at all. "Can only wait until tomorrow." Day 8. Song Dalong got up very early because he had already contacted Bixin Mall to confirm that the order promised by Li Yuan was true and valid. Then, Song Shares must make an announcement. There is no doubt that this news can bring 2 or 3 daily limits to Song's shares. While waiting for Lu Yan's call, he looked at Song's shares. After the announcement was made, sure enough, Song's shares were directly pulled into a big positive line, which can be said to be pulling onions from dry land. The performance of Song Corporation in the first quarter of this year was very poor. While other companies were making a lot of money, Song Corporation was the only company that was doing better. So even with such a good market, the market value is only over 30 billion. According to today's situation, with 2 more daily limits, the market value will exceed 40 billion. It's not bad to stabilize at 40 billion. Today's popular A-share stocks, Song's shares have jumped to the second position. After all, everyone knows that Li Yuan is behind Bixin, and no one can shake Li Yuan's position in the hearts of retail investors. He subconsciously opened the popularity ranking and found that the first place was Jushin Media. Hey, Jushin Media has gone public. He opened the homepage of Jushin Media. After the market opened, it went up to the daily limit. It rose 44% today. After all, it is the first day of new shares. The market value has increased from 30 billion to 43.2 billion. I'm so envious, an internet celebrity company can have such a high market value. He has been raising pigs for 20 years, and the Song family's shares are worth more than 30 billion. It can only be said that no matter what company it is, it can take off with Li Yuan as its backer. There was also a bell-ringing picture of Jushin Media's listing on the page, and he subconsciously clicked on it. Then, in that picture, I saw two familiar figures. He enlarged the picture to make sure he wasn't dazzled. At this moment, his cell phone rang. Seeing that it was Lu Yan calling, she pressed the connect button. "Husband, I have no money again today. Jia will stay here for another day before she can go back to Zhangzhou tomorrow. Well, I have no money to pay for the room." End of chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 343. Song Dalong felt like he was going crazy. It never occurred to him. During the group photo with the bell ringing, Song Jia stood in the absolute C position, with Lu Yan accompanying her. What the hell? Especially when Lu Yan called him, the contrast left him speechless. Really no money? He asked while flipping through the shareholder information of Jushin Media. When I saw that Song Jia was the largest shareholder with a shareholding ratio of 30%, I felt bad. Song Jia is just a college student who has graduated from college 3 years ago. How can she become the CEO of a listed company with a market value of tens of billions? It's really gone. The hotel is urging us to pay the room fee, otherwise they will take out our luggage. Song Dalong gritted his teeth and said, "If you have no money, you can ask Mr. Song for it." Yes, isn't this just looking for Mr. Song's husband? Haha, I'm talking about Song Jia. What's amazing is that the general manager of Jushin Media has the same shareholding as I have in Song's shares. The market value of Jushin Media is 10 billion less than that of Song's shares. From now on, when I see her again, shouldn't I call her President Song? I have to lower my head and sit under her, otherwise I will make President Song unhappy and I will be finished. Lu Yan didn't know that Song Dalong had discovered the situation and was in a strange situation. But it doesn't matter. Then are you still angry? What does it have to do with being angry or not? It's her business if she has money, and it's mine that I care about her. Hey, don't be stubborn. I've been coaxing you for several days. The matter should be over. Don't bring it up again. Whatever Jia wants to do, just follow her ideas. Don't interfere. Her decision. Lu Yan stopped pretending. Song Dalong said, "You admit that you have been lying to me, right? What did I lie to you? Could it be that you are jealous when you see that your daughter is better than you? If I said that Jia was still a shareholder of Bixin, I would probably piss you off. I have never seen such a weirdo like you in the world. People are even jealous of their own children. You." Song Dalong was really confused. Song Jia is actually still a shareholder of Bixin? How valuable is your heart? There is no accurate figure for this yet, because Bixin has been losing money. The scale of Bixin is comparable to that of chopstick masters in the same industry. Recently, there is news that Chopstick's Hand will be listed on the Hong Kong stock market, with a market value of more than 800 billion. Chopstick's Hand doesn't make much profit either. It mainly has more users and more revenue. Bixin's revenue is not low, it just lost a little money. No matter what, it is still no problem to have a market value of over 200 billion. Otherwise, Li Yuan's tens of billions were not wasted. This kind of company can be considered a super company, and Song Jia actually holds shares in it. What kind of incredible luck is this? Besides, Why? Is it the shares that Li Yuan gave her? What are you talking about? She earned it herself, right? After Jia graduated from university, she started Jushin Media with Li Yuan. Li Yuan invested 500,000 yuan, and she did most of the things. What Jushin Media is today is also the result of her hard work. As for Bixen, Jia has been working at Bixen for 2 years. From the accompaniment business to the current short video business, she has always been in charge. It is not normal to have a stake of. Song Dalong didn't believe it. Just her? Can a newly graduated college student manage a company worth tens of billions or hundreds of billions? Lu Yan said, so, you are stubborn and ineffective. I have told you that Jia is much more reliable than you. You just yell and talk about how to manage people all day long, but Jushin the media and competition both rely on strength. Who would think about managing people? They have their own office system, and everyone's business is clearly divided. If you can't do it well, it means you are not capable. The more you spend the whole day thinking about the emperor, the more it shows that the people under his command are useless and of no use. Do you know what Li Yuan said? If employees don't work well for the company, they are either wronged or the company has not paid them. Enough. The system has a clear structure, so there is no need to learn those things at all. It is nothing more than a game of ideas between leaders, and it happens that the company under Li Yuan has all the ideas injected by Li Yuan alone. Many A-share companies are very traditional. Even the chairman of many listed companies is illiterate and has never read the listing rules. Various violations continue to reduce holdings. I manage the company, do I need you to teach me? Song Dalong was a little unconvinced. It was okay for Li Yuan to tell him these things. Lu Yan had only been with Song Jia for a few days, and they only talked about one thing after another. What I mean is, it's time for you to step aside and hand over the Song shares to Jia. She will definitely do better than you. If that doesn't work, you should have a good chat with Jia about how to plan a company. Bixen and Jushin Media, the efficiency is unimaginable. Humph, dreaming. Okay, then just take your time and dream. Jia and I live together. Anyway, Jia's annual salary is not low, it's several million, which is enough for us too. You. Song Dalong was so angry. I thought I could use money to control the two of them, but in the end, I felt like a clown. Song Jia earns more money than him and is now worth more than him. No wonder Song Jia has never been interested in Song's shares before. Song's shares are a traditional enterprise. Even if they are lucky, they can't make much money. They are on the verge of losing money all year round. How can Jushin Media and Bixen stand in the spotlight? Internet companies are good. Jushin Media's financial report is eye-catching to read. If it weren't for the lack of stability, the market value of only 40 billion would not be worthy of Jushin Media's financial report. In the first quarter alone, Jushin Media made a net profit of 2 billion through its live broadcast. There will definitely be a lot of funds willing to speculate in the future. These profits are basically created by a few leading anchors, especially the twin brothers Yang, who now have more than 50 million fans, and can sell more than 100 million in each show, which is stronger than the previous Datong selected brands. Calculated based on a 20% profit, that's a profit of 20 million every day. However, Jushin Media is different from other products. Jushin Media has very strong after-sales service. The 20 million is the profit given by the brand, and Jushin Media must also bear a certain amount of after-sales service. No one knows exactly how much he earns. But the financial report is really strong. It was rare to hear that Li Yuan interfered with Jushin Media. Song Dalong had a thought in his mind. Could this achievement be really done by Song Jia? Then this daughter is too scary. He was getting more and more tired of staying at home. There wasn't much to do in Song's shares. It was just a waste of time to go back and forth every day. After enduring it for a few more days, he couldn't bear it anymore and asked someone to drive him directly to Zhangzhou. After arriving in Zhangzhou, he called Lu Yan. "I'm coming to Zhangzhou. Come downstairs to pick me up. I'm afraid you won't be able to eat well, so I brought you some of my own pork." This reason is powerful. At this time, Song Jiajia was talking to Li Yuan. After Song Dalong arrived at home, he saw Song Jiajia standing on the balcony, chatting with Li Yuan in a calm tone. Well, they wanted to take a sniper at Jushin Media's market value. After the news came out, a lot of market funds escaped today. After all, those people think that we relied on a few leading anchors to achieve our current financial results. You mean to give it to them directly? You can, but the price offered is too low. Since they are so sure, I am going to offer a higher price. Twin brother Yang, I am going to quote 750 million, of which 300 million it's the liquidated damages, and the 450 million is the account fee. Since they're all poached, it doesn't make sense for us to keep the accounts. We just need to train a few more. Haha, I'm not evil. In the eyes of outsiders, 750 million is too cheap. I can make it back by hosting dozens of live broadcasts a year. Mr. Lee, I didn't say that I would give up live streaming. From a monetization perspective, this business is indeed a cash cow. However, the meaning of Jushin Media has never been these, but to set industry standards. In the internet celebrity industry, the track is the key. The next direction is to grasp the track well and give Bixen a boost in private. Otherwise, according to your method of loss, it will only take a year and a month to make a profit. I plan to let Bixen have it next year. In terms of profit margin, we must have a stable profit model starting from the next year, but there are still many problems with this model. Song Dalong felt dazed again. My daughter really seems like a domineering president. When communicating with Li Yuan about work, he was very calm. Even when he faced Li Yuan, he had to be cautious, but his daughter was not at all. He seemed to understand what he said. However, Song Jiajia's performance was very confident, and this was not false. Ahem. Seeing Song Jiajia hang up the phone, he made some noise. Song Jiajia immediately turned around and said with a smile, "Dad, why are you here?" Song Dalong, who pretended to be calm, said calmly, "I came to see you. I'm afraid you won't have a good life here. Then come here and stay for a few more days. That's okay. Although the company has something to do, it's not as important as you." Lu Yan on the side said, "Why don't you go home and do business at the company? Our place is very good. You can buy our own pork from Bixen. They deliver it quickly and it's very fresh." Song Dalong's face immediately fell. He thought for a long time before saying, "The weather is hot now. No matter how fast people deliver it, it will definitely not be fresh. I will have someone deliver it specially. The pigs that were just killed an hour ago, the taste of those frozen meats, it's not good, and it's not safe outside recently. When the special delivery person comes, I have to go downstairs to get it, so I can't let you run errands back and forth. There is no worse excuse in the world than this." Song Jiajia quickly made an excuse and said, "Dad, you talk to Mom first, and I'll go work for a while." Song Dalong quickly said, "I will work with you to give you some pointers. After all, you are still young. You will definitely not be able to adapt to such a heavy burden for a while. I have rich experience." Song Jiajia. She has so much experience, but she doesn't even want the structure of Song's shares. In her opinion, the management of Song Group Co., Limited is useless, and it is most convenient to just open it. Those models should have been eliminated by the times long ago. "Dad, it involves company secrets, so it's not good to have you around." Song Dalong immediately said with a straight face, What are you talking about? I just care about you. Besides, what can I do if I see it? How can I still say it out loud? Oh, okay. In the study, Song Dalong moved a chair and sat behind Song Jiajia. Song Jiajia manages the company, mainly operating from the background. Half an hour later, Song Dalong couldn't help it anymore and asked, "You are just looking at a bunch of data. Is it useful? You don't have to call the management to ask." Song Jiajia said, "Dad, the company's business is very accurate. You can tell if there are any problems with the project at a glance from the backend. If there are problems with the project data, the backend algorithm will directly give prompts." Song Dalong, then how do you know how the company's business is doing? What if the employees below reported the numbers casually? How do they have the authority to report the numbers? Besides, even if we contact the leaders and report the data, we will review it. No management has access to finance, and the finance side also relies on algorithms to allocate funds. The only the possible problem is that some employees take advantage of algorithm loopholes to make profits for themselves. This can be discovered after a while, and then the entire office system will be improved accordingly. Such problems will only become less and less in the future. You mean, you can't even get money from the company? You can't get it under normal circumstances, but I can use my super authority. This kind of thing is rare. Oh, then you continue. Song Dalong started to think. The finances of Song's shares can be touched by any individual. The leaders below have project budgets for approval every day, and even some small amounts of funds can go directly to the finance department based on their authority. Just the reimbursement alone costs tens of millions every year. Moreover, the money is almost wasted, and most of the business will not be completed. Even if it succeeds, you won't make as much money as you expected, and you'll still have to lose money. After a while, Song Dalong couldn't hold it back and asked again, "How do you determine whether the project is feasible?" "We have a dedicated investment research department." "Aren't you afraid of the investment research department's manipulation?" "The investment research department is full of newcomers. Newcomers will only make mistakes, not intentionally." "That's not necessarily true, right?" "Then there's the law. I'll show you the company's framework. You'll understand then. Enough money and benefits are provided, and the cost of making mistakes is high. Not many newcomers have the courage. That is, some old employees think they have strong qualifications and that's why they act recklessly. But currently, there is only one such employee under the name of Qingtian Group." "Who?" You. "Oh, I know him. You does why, he says every day that Honor mobile phones are 50 years ahead of technology. Well, in short, talk less about things other than work with the company's management, and eat and drink with them less. They will not feel that the leaders value them, and will only do their own things in a down-to-earth manner. It's still the same premise, the give adequate treatment, don't make people feel wronged, and don't do anything else if you can. The better the relationship, the more aggressive the employees will be." Song Dalong was thoughtful. Is this a new age company? He and the company managers often ate and drank together. I thought it was a way to win over people's hearts and enhance cohesion, but now it seems that I thought too much. But this move is inappropriate for Li Yuan, right? We still need to have a good relationship with Li Yuan. Song Jiajia shook her head. Li Yuan also prefers a purely working relationship. Except for Yu, he doesn't accept flattery from others. This, is there something wrong with Li Yuan's orientation? End of chapter. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 344. Song Jiajia couldn't answer this question, not because she wasn't sure, but because she was so sure that she couldn't say anything. If Li Yuan has a problem with his orientation, then there will be no normal men in the world. "Dad, Any relationship is unreliable. Only ability and interests can last forever. How can you pin your life on such erratic things as having a good relationship with others? If you think the current situation of Song Corporation if it can be satisfied, there is no need to make drastic changes. If it is not satisfied, in my opinion, all the management of Song Corporation is of little use. Song Jiajia's thinking also corrected bit by bit. It is also because of her good mentality that she can persevere in Jushin Media. Li Yuan's operating model is very clean and tidy. Company employees rarely discuss relationships with each other, and they will not deliberately squeeze your salary just because you are an intern. Those internet celebrities don't seem to get much money, about 50,000 yuan per month, and the share of goods they bring is even lower, around 1%. But the reality is that they don't have to worry about after-sales, reputation damage, or operating expenses. Maybe if you leave Jushin Media, you can make more money by relying on your current popularity, but making money in Jushin Media is more stable and easier. Also, most internet celebrities can get up so quickly because of Li Yuan's set of methods. At present, Jushin Media maintains a bunch of matrix accounts for each internet celebrity, and the daily operating costs are very high. Now that someone wants to leave, she won't stop her. The price she offers is not a sky-high asking price, it's a normal price. Jushin Media's model is becoming more and more mature, and it no longer cares about the departure of one or two internet celebrities. Moreover, any internet celebrity is timely and can be sold at a reasonable price, which is not a loss for Jushin Media. When Song Dalong heard Song Jiajia's words, he frowned and said, "The management of the company is still very good, and many companies want to recruit people. Of course, there is definitely no way to compare with you, but Song's shares are not a great company. It's very rare to find talent like that." But Song Jiajia shook her head and said, "Dad, do you mean that today's college students can't compare to those in the past? People in their 20s can't compare to people in their 40s or 50s. Although it was much more difficult to get into college 30 years ago than it is now, in today's society, even if there are parallel imports of higher education, it is still quite limited. Knowledge points have been accumulating, and there are now more channels for obtaining information. Some management thinking has been solidified. They are still using the same methods more than 10 years ago, and have long lost their learning ability. Nowadays, even if many people have never read a book, as long as they still have a heart to learn, their knowledge is many times stronger than that of college students 20 or 30 years ago. Maybe their IQ and talent are lacking, but for those people who have no learning ability, what's the use of having higher talent? I will only delve into some nonsense. Isn't it obvious? The newcomer brings experience. Dad, what kind of experience do you need to work? Just don't recruit people who can't even do the work. I became the general manager of Jushin Media as a pure newcomer. I have always felt that I am a tool person. There is no sense of existence in the company. But Li Yuan said that I did a good job, and Jushin Media is developing better and better. Do you know why many technology companies start optimizing at the age of 35? In fact, it is the same all over the world. Qingtian Group has made more optimizations. However, Qingtian Group is more gentle in its approach. If it is not suitable, it can be transferred. If it is not willing to accept the transfer, it will provide sufficient compensation. Rich experience and seniority are no longer useful in today's society. Unless the business is mainly marketing and relies on love to make money. Song's shares are obviously not. Learning ability will become the criterion for measuring career. Song Jiajia has long understood this. No matter how good she is, if she loses her learning ability and cannot keep up with the changes of that era after 10 years, she will be optimized. Now she is almost coerced by Li Yuan to study. Song Dalong still felt that his daughter was in Versailles, and said, "You are already very powerful. You can manage Jushin Media and Bixin. This is not an ability that ordinary people have. We are not outsiders, so there is no need to be humble in front of me. Song Jiajia said helplessly, with my little ability, even if I can't find 100,000 in the country, I can still find 80,000. Dad, if you want to learn the Qingtian group system, I can help. In this world, only the system, not individuals, can fully bring out its advantages. Except for those with extraordinary talents like Li Yuan. That kind of, the whole world may not be able to find anyone else. Song Dalong has actually lost his ability to learn. He is afraid of big changes and things beyond his control. Even if Song's shares expand in the future, it will be nothing more than making another copy of the current bloated system. Profits will not increase much, and the overall situation will not be better than before. The truly advanced system is 1-add-1/U003E2. The outdated system is 1-add-1/U003C1.5. Song Jiajia has analyzed Byte's system, which is very complete, while Penguin's system is extremely bloated. But Qingtian Group's system is better, like an optimized version of the Byte system. The Byte system strictly guards everyone, and as a result, it is easy to create some internal conflicts, leading to malicious internal competition in some projects and huge losses. Qingtian Group, on the other hand, uses money as a link to control all money and reserves the power of its employees. It not only keeps the entire company strong and dynamic, but also abides by the rules. Even if she, the boss, wanted to take bribes, it would be difficult for her to do so. In other words, the gains would outweigh the losses, and the employees below would have no chance. The office system is like this. Once something happens to the company, the background can analyze the cause and the responsible person in an instant. Song Dalong hesitated. Song Jiajia didn't say anything else and continued to do her own thing. What she has to do every day is very clear in the background. The biggest test for her is her decision-making ability. And her decision-making thinking has been documented by Li Yuan. She knew what Li Yuan wanted, but it was not perfect at the moment, and even Li Yuan himself couldn't get it right. You can only push forward a little bit and see the results. 2 hours later, Lu Yan came over and called the two of them to eat. Song Dalong was listening to the mother and daughter chatting. Lu Yan said that she had bought some nice clothes for Song Jiajia and that Song Jiajia should match them with some jewelry. Song Jiajia handed her bank card to Lu Yan and asked Lu Yan to hold the flowers and buy more things for herself without thinking about her. Song Dalong was standing aside, feeling as if Song Jiajia had suddenly become the head of the family, and he, as an old man, was no longer useful. He has always believed that the meaning of his existence is to provide protection for this family, so Lu Yan always asks him for conditions, even if some conditions are difficult and she agrees reluctantly, she is still very satisfied in her heart. He can find the meaning of what he does. It seems pointless now. Aren't there essentially no differences between life and managing a company? The old people are always at the top, so how can the young people below still have goals to strive for? What's more, the authority in the hands of the old man is getting bigger and bigger. If the people below want to be promoted, they can only please and flatter them. Even if the leader is wrong, they must insist that it is right. Just like now, since he doesn't have as much money as Song Jiajia, can he force Song Jiajia to listen to him by virtue of his seniority and seniority? Yes, but would a truly capable person be willing to do so? Either endure the humiliation and bear the burden, or directly establish a new branch. It was as if he had always felt that Song Jiajia could not have much potential, let alone surpass him. This is a subconscious conclusion that one comes to after analyzing the situation. In fact, the imagination of young people exceeds their cognition. It's like there are a lot of outrageous things happening in the market, but some people just don't see it. I don't know if he is deliberately pretending not to see it or if he simply doesn't want to obtain information outside the inherent channel. Li Yuan hasn't appeared on screen for a long time. Mainly because I am busy with raising children and I owe a lot of debt. Needless to say, Zhou Ranran will find an opportunity to ask for it. Xu Yanlin lived in the village, but she didn't dare to publicize it, or even call Li Yuan. She relied on Li Yuan to take the initiative. Therefore, in addition to spending time with the child and Zhang Yuling in the hospital every day, not a penny of time is left. He rarely bothers with the company, and at most he only reads a few reports while holding the child. Before we knew it, it was late May. Zhang Yuling's confinement period was about to end, and his mood became high. Looking at Li Yuan, who was leaning on the bed, he pinched the little face of the child next to him and said, "Is Jingcheng like you or me? This little guy already has a name, and this time Li Yuan came up with it himself. Li Jingcheng." Li Yuan did not choose to have the previous generation. "Of course it's like you. It's not a good thing to be like me." Zhang Yuling laughed, "You also know that you have an outstanding ability to cause trouble. It's really not good for you." She didn't want her son to be like Li Yuan in the future. Li Yuan snorted, "No matter what, I am still his father. Can he still dislike me?" "Gee, your words are becoming more and more like Dad. Sometimes when he quarrels with Mom tells you not to recognize him in the future, but he then says, if you dare to deny him, he will I pack my bed and sleep in front of your house every day." Haha, the essence of human beings is a repeater. Understand your parents and become a parent. Zhang Yuling, you can see your attitude towards your children from this sentence. Do you want to wait until the children are 18 years old and then ignore them? Pretty much. We will work hard before the age of 18 so that they can go to college and be able to live independently. How hard? I will retire in a few years and be at home with you and my children. You should have added a we. To be honest with my wife, I was almost suffocated during your confinement period. I will be discharged from the hospital in a few days. You must reward me well." Zhang Yuling rolled his eyes, "You're so ready to lie now. How is it possible? Who doesn't know that I, Li Yuan, am an honest and trustworthy young gentleman? If you really thought that, you wouldn't name your child this." Hey, what's wrong with this name? I found it in the disciples' regulations. I've never had such a headache at my age. There are so many names in the disciple regulations, why did you choose this one? Otherwise. This is good. Parents must respect their responsibilities. Who doesn't want their children to be obedient and sensible? K Jingcheng is homophonic to Jingcheng. It's really tiring to deal with people like you. How can a ghost contact this? Besides, I am just a newborn child. Zhang Yuling was silent for a while. Indeed, a mere name is nothing at all. Don't say it's just a homophony, so what if it's not a homophony? It's just that she's more sensitive than anyone else. He leaned into Li Yuan's arms and said, "I don't want my children to do those things." Li Yuan quickly comforted him, "If you don't do it, don't do it. Our family has plenty of money, so why do we do that? Then I want to go to Grandpa's place to live for a while in a few days." "Stay here, I'll stay with you." "No, you take care of Jiangshu, and I'll take Jingcheng to live there. There are only a few steps in total." "Not even a few steps." Li Yuan finally had no choice but to agree. Perhaps Zhang Yuling has also noticed Zhang Yuan Qiao's condition. What people can change is, after all, limited. Moreover, the cause and effect was planted a long time ago. All Li Yuan can change is the descendants, and it is impossible to change the elders. He couldn't even change his hair. Doesn't Zhou Ranran still insist on walking her own path? Lu Hao still made the same mistakes in his previous life and is still struggling. Only children are extremely malleable. Then reward me first. Give the child to the parents first, let them take care of it for a while, and then close the door. I may feel a little pain. This is the late stage of pelvic closure. A few days later, Zhang Yuling ended her confinement and moved to Zhongyuanqiao. I would come back occasionally during the day to see my eldest son and chat with Zhou Wan and Li Wanhe. But I ate 3 meals a day at Zhongyuanqiao's place. Li Yuan indeed seldom went there. After having a little leisure time, he gradually began to pay attention to the company's situation. Until mid-June, he specially called Zhang Yuling, and then the two of them went to the Civil Affairs Bureau with their ID cards and household registration books. On the way back from the Civil Affairs Bureau, Li Yuan put the 2 marriage certificates on the ground, picked up his mobile phone, and took a video. The camera focuses on the marriage certificate on the ground. Oh, I picked something up. Who lost it? Picks up the marriage certificate and looks at Zhang Yuling next to him. Beauty, is this what you lost? Zhang Yuling is delighted. Yes, thank you so much. Zhang Yuling took out one of the marriage certificates and handed it to Li Yuan. In that case, I'll give this one to you. Li Yuan is overjoyed. Thank you, you are so kind. The two appeared in the camera, kissing and holding up their marriage certificate. Over. Zhang Yuling looked at the short video and said with a smile, no wonder he is the boss of Jushin Media, he is so awesome. She thought it was just Li Yuan who made a joke on purpose. As a result, as soon as she finished speaking, she saw Li Yuan directly posting the video on all social platforms. What are you going to do? End of chapter. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 345. Li Yuan officially announced. Even if some platforms limit the flow of his account, they still can't stop this matter from spreading across the entire network. And it quickly hit the headlines. Picked up a marriage certificate. This topic has become the focus of everyone's attention. In just half an hour, a lot of imitation videos followed. Those who have a marriage certificate can use it as a prop, those who don't have a marriage certificate can go and get one on the spot. The day when Li Yuan got married must be a good day, and the rich people would be happy with it, and they wouldn't mind a ride. According to statistics, on average, only 20,000 couples get married in the country every day, but Li Yuan officially announced that on this day, 60,000 couples received marriage certificates. If it weren't for Xingguan, this number would have increased a lot. When riding back in the car, Li Yuan suddenly said, "Are we going to sit together this time?" Just this once. Anyway, Zhang Yuling didn't want to get off the car now, and he didn't want Li Yuan to get off either. Li Yuan put his arms around Zhang Yuling and said, "Originally I wanted to delay it for a while, but we're not in a hurry anyway. Let's leave a thought for Grandpa. Mainly because Zhang Yuanqiao called last night. Let him take Zhang Yuling back." Then, he had a bad feeling. It came faster than expected. When the car arrived home, the two took their marriage certificate to visit Zhang Yuanqiao. Zhang Yuanqiao seemed to be in particularly good spirits, and the three of them chatted and laughed throughout the meal. The child can only eat milk powder at home at noon. Zhou Wan sent the child over in the afternoon, and Li Yuan chatted with Zhang Yuanqiao for a long time in the backyard. After showing him the video taken by the two of them, Zhang Yuanqiao smiled from ear to ear. He even wanted to smoke, but after taking a look at Zhang Yuling and his children not far away, he finally held back. But Li Yuan saw this subtle movement, took it out for him, and then clicked it. Worried that he wouldn't smoke, I lit one for myself. Actually, I smoke occasionally. Zhang Yuanqiao said with a smile, "You can smoke or drink. Choose what suits you within the economic scope. If you can't afford to smoke, there are cheaper ones waiting for you." Well, I listen to you. Li Yuan knew what Zhang Yuanqiao was talking about. Experience still works, but it's just not persuasive enough. He is willing to quit, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want anything. After dinner, Zhang Yuling hugged the child and left. Before leaving, he showed Li Yuan the photos on his phone. The photo was taken by Zhang Yuling while the two were sitting in the backyard smoking. "You look very handsome when you smoke." What's good about smoking is nothing more than self-restraint or self-indulgence. Then it seems that all the cigarettes you smoke less are indulged in other places. Daughter-in-law, have you noticed that after getting married, your control has become more and more lenient? That doesn't count as a marriage. I will be more lenient in the future. In this case, wife, shouldn't you also fulfill more obligations? Ang, let me take a look. Zhang Yuling often didn't sleep well during this period. Although I have moved back, I spend most of my time with my children visiting Zhang Yuanqiao during the day. Li Yuan occasionally went there, but most of the time he was still dealing with the company's affairs and approving some funds. Vixen, a money-losing guy, lost more than 6 billion in 1 month. Chen Ji will also tell him something about Lotus Trust. At the beginning, $90 billion was bought at the bottom of the US stock market, but at this time, the US stock market had rebounded by more than 30 points. Lotus Trust's current book capital is $400 billion. Gu Dongsheng basically called once a month. The content of the call was very simple: get money. The overall expenditure there is still very limited. In the past year and a half, only about $2 billion have been spent. Qingtian Group stores nearly 200,000 tons of lithium carbonate and more than 40 tons of gold. The shelf life of lithium carbonate is almost over, and the price has only risen a little. The real price peak will be in March next year. However, a mere 200,000 tons is just the upfront cost for Li Yuan to open channels. Later, he can basically produce 40,000 to 50,000 tons every month. You can still earn 2 years. Another thing is that Yao Yingsong should leave. In the future, I will not return to Qingtian Capital, but will officially return to a large national fund. The time is the end of this year. After all, Li Yuan is no longer able to operate the Gdai Fund. How to cooperate in the next step can only wait for Li Yuan to take the initiative to speak. Before we knew it, it was July. Then August arrived as planned. Li Yuan has been worried about Zhang Yuling's condition recently because Zhang Yuling has nightmares every night. On the night of August 16, Zhang Yuling was suddenly awakened by a phone call. After answering the phone, I froze on the bed. Li Yuan also woke up at this time, turned on the light, and saw Zhang Yuling's eyes were red. What's wrong? Have a nightmare again? During this period of time, Zhang Yuling has been like this. But Zhang Yuling choked and said, "Husband, I don't have a grandpa anymore." Li Yuan was shocked. I quickly got up from the bed, put on a t-shirt and shorts, and woke my parents up. Then, the lights in the entire village turned on. Zhou Wan was at home with Zhang Yuling and her 2 children. Li Wanhe and Li Yuan had already arrived at Zhang Yuanqiao's side. The call was from the nanny. Just after dawn, many cars came to the village entrance. All the 13 Taibao came over. Of course, with Zhang Yuanqiao's identity, there would be others, but they didn't come so quickly. As son-in-law, Li Yuan received everyone throughout the process. Zhang Yuling came at 3 in the morning and cried for a long time. At this time, he was lying next to Zhang Yuanqiao and was still choking. She had no energy to care about the scene outside. Even when someone came to comfort her, she remained silent. Li Wanhe is the busiest. At his age, he has experienced countless deaths and has seen many things clearly. Li Yuan was strong enough in his heart, but he was just holding on. For the 13 Taibao, the departure of an old man means that the countdown to the lives of the rest of them has begun. The longer one is only 30 or 40 years, the shorter one is, who knows if it will be the next second. This kind of scene will give people the idea that life is born to die, so what's the point of struggling? The summary is just one sentence: what is the meaning of life? No point. There is no point in anything under the sun. Li Yuan was busy until about 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Some people came at noon, stayed here for 2 hours and then left. Some people want to send Zhang Yuanjia one more way and stay here for 2 days. Zhang Yuling didn't want to leave, so Li Yuan stayed with her. Lend Zhang Yuling his shoulder to rest and feed her some food with his own hands. The next day, he was laid in a coffin. Li Yuan took Ho Wenbin and others to dig a hole behind the village. If you're in a big city, be sure to sparkle. But now that we are in the countryside, the rules don't need to be so strict. On the third day, he was buried. Most of the 13 Taibao left, but young people like Ho Wenbin stayed behind. Li Yuan accompanied Zhang Yuling and stayed at the grave for several hours. It wasn't until the sky turned dark that he said, "Go back. Whenever you want to, just ask me to come with you." Zhang Yuling asked in a hoarse voice, "Do you regret marrying me? I originally wanted to use my grandfather's identity to provide you with some help, but I didn't expect him to leave so soon. If you think so, then go ahead and go back with me first." Li Yuan took Zhang Yuling's arm and led her back. Zhang Yuling's eyes had lost their sparkle, and whatever she said now was extreme. "Then let's get a divorce," Zhang Yuling said again. "What are you talking about? Divorce? You are the king of the country, and even if you are divorced, you can find a man. If I get divorced, I will be married for the second time. These days, the second married man is worse than a dog. Where can I find a wife in the future? Go. Are you still in need of a wife? It's missing, otherwise why is there only one now? Haha, don't kid yourself. I know how many girlfriends you have. I have always pretended not to see them. But now, I don't want to pretend anymore. Either we get divorced, or you completely break up with those women." Okay, I'll listen to you and break up with them. It will be cut off tomorrow. Well, I'll stop tomorrow. I'll go back later, eat something, take a shower, and when I get to bed, I'll call them in front of you. Good. After returning home, Zhang Yuling took a bath first, then looked at the child, and finally Zhou Wan brought her food. Li Yuan also accompanied him to eat some. When it was past 10 o'clock, he handed the child to Zhou Wan and took Zhang Yuling to the room. Both of them were too tired to take care of the children tonight. Li Yuan took the initiative to bring Zhang Yuling pajamas. Zhang Yuling seemed to be a little anxious and said, "Please call them quickly and tell them that you don't want them anymore." Li Yuan took out his phone, unlocked it, found Zhou Ranran's number, and handed it to Zhang Yuling. "You come and fight, and I'll make sure that whatever you ask for tonight will be met." When the mobile phone was delivered to Zhang Yuling flinched. "No, you fight." Li Yuan pointed to the bed and said, "Lie down first and I'll fight." Good. Soon, the two of them lay down. Li Yuan called Zhou Ranran. Zhang Yuling was watching the whole process. The call was quickly connected, and Zhou Ranran's voice came through. "It's so late, what's wrong?" Li Yuan said, "Sister Ran, I..." Before he finished speaking, Zhang Yuling took the phone and hung up. Zhang Yuling said, "You don't care about Zhou Mo. I'll give her money. I'm going to give her 10 billion breakup fee. Does she care about the money? Hey, you asked me to make this call, no matter if she cares or not. Bring me the phone and I'll call her to make it clear." Zhang Yuling didn't listen, just took the phone and got under the quilt. No matter how much Li Yuan yelled, he just didn't speak. When Li Yuan also got into bed, he heard Zhang Yuling hiding under the quilt and crying. He reached out his hand, wiped Zhang Yuling's tears, and then held her in his arms. Zhang Yuling cried and said, "I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't put conditions on you, but I can't control myself. I never thought that one day I would be so scared. All the confidence I had before was gone at this moment. I'm afraid that you won't want me. I'm afraid that I will be alone in the future and have nothing." End of chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 346. Zhang Yuling felt very empty inside, not only due to the current death of his relatives, but also the fear of the future. The words she said were malicious, and Li Yuan had never shown that attitude. But her mind always involuntarily thinks about malicious things, which makes her feel more at ease. If the most malicious situation arises, she can still accept it, which will help improve her endurance. Just like a friend suddenly tells you that there is good news and bad news. Most people like to hear the bad news first, so they are mentally prepared. Human character is like this. What the subconscious desires most is not to be better, but not to be too bad. This is called cowardice in short. Daughter-in-law, what more confidence do you want? Don't tell me whether I will divorce you. Even if I want to, I have to have the courage. If you dare to say a word, my parents can break my legs directly. You believe it or not. Don't worry about the richest people or not, they can make you suffer even the slightest injustice. Even my grandparents, at such an old age, would probably hit me on the head with a hoe. Anyway, now they have grandchildren and great-grandchildren. There's more than one. My account has been cancelled, and they still have 2 small accounts. How is it possible? At that time, I am the one who should be abandoned, right? They have other daughters-in-law to choose from. Hey, you can't come out yet, can you? Do you want me to call out my family now and sign a guarantee for you? Don't want. Zhang Yuling hugged Li Yuan tightly. She was very timid now. Those bad thoughts in my heart will pop up involuntarily. Then go to bed quickly, I have to take care of the children tomorrow. Zhang Yuling agreed, but he couldn't sleep despite tossing and turning. Li Yuan couldn't sleep either. An hour later, Li Yuan said slowly, actually, I have been scared these days. Grandpa's departure has no less impact on me than you. But I have to pretend. I am the richest man. I can't let people see that I am scared. Zhang Yuling asked close to his heart, what are you afraid of? Afraid of facing death one day, even though I know it is inevitable. Zhang Yuling, if I die in the future, don't be afraid. I will find a wife then. No. Find someone. I will be happy if you have someone to accompany you. As you get older, at least someone can bring you tea and water. I'm looking for someone young. Zhang Yuling, I'll bite you to death. Zhang Yuling's mood didn't return to normal until September. Li Yuan stayed with her almost the whole time, and even let her sit next to her when she was at work. In order to make Zhang Yuling feel at ease, he also showed her all his accounts. Marriage is not done casually. Marriage requires enough trust. Only in this way can we rely on each other if anything happens in the future. Just because he doesn't need to rely on others doesn't mean he doesn't need to rely on others. Everyone is vulnerable sometimes. On September 6, Li Yuan came to Zhou Ranran. He hasn't been here for almost a month. Zhou Yufang was originally at home, but when he saw Li Yuan coming, he turned around and went out with a broom. Although there are people who take care of the sanitation in the village, when the weather is good, they are all taken care of by their own people. After all, at this time, we don't feel comfortable letting outsiders in casually. The situation is still very serious, and there are many babies in the village. Zhou Ranran had just come out of the gym without wiping the sweat off her forehead. Why aren't you at home with Yuling? What are you doing here? She picked up a glass of water, took a sip and said. Li Yuan glanced at Zhou Ranran, and his figure was really getting better and better. Although the child is not young anymore, Zhou Ranran is actually only 23 years old. Where's Zhou Mo? Li Yuan didn't see the child. When he came, Zhou Yufang was at the door. He just pretended not to see him and left with the broom. My mother took him out to play. Want to see him? Should I call him and call him back? Li Yuan quickly waved his hand. Forget it, let me come over and take a look at the account book. Then I'll get it for you. Zhou Ranran went to the room and quickly took out a ledger. A hand-recorded ledger. Li Yuan looked at the ledger and saw that Zhou Ranran went to the gym again. There is no secret information in the ledger, and there are no big numbers. There are only tens of millions of transactions in total. What was being traded was none other than the villas in the village. A set of 1 million yuan only recovers part of the construction cost. This time Zhang Yuanqiao passed away, and basically everyone who was supposed to come came over. Even Yu Yu, who wrapped himself tightly, came and stayed for a long time without even drinking a sip of water. Zhou Ranran noticed that there was no movement from Li Yuan, so he ran out and said, Yu Yu is also settled, but there is no way to transfer the household registration for the time being. His child has to take the college entrance examination. How many sets are left? There are still a dozen sets left in the front and only 2 sets left in the back. Well, almost. Everyone has come, and the village won't be so deserted in the future. Zhou Ranran said, I think it's pretty good now, there are a lot of people. Li Yuan smiled, it's true that there are quite a few now, but it's hard to say in the future. It's not beautiful to be alone, but spring is when 100 flowers bloom. Oh, you can do whatever you want anyway. Haha, Sister Ran, I called you in the middle of the night last time. Were you angry? In order to comfort Zhang Yuling that day, Zhou Ranran was indeed wronged. Although some words were not said, he originally meant to make Zhou Ranran feel a little wrong temporarily. It didn't happen, Zhang Yuling stopped it in time. Zhou Ranran said nonchalantly, what's there to be angry about? I am an outsider in your family's affairs. But Yuling doesn't think you are an outsider. She has been a little embarrassed during this time, saying that her impulsiveness has caused you more trouble. Zhou Ranran. Her face was filled with disbelief. Li Yuan could actually say these words. This guy is different from before. There was a touch of humanity in what he said. It was no longer like before, when I kissed myself, I had to hold pills in my mouth and stuff them into myself. Although several years had passed since the incident, that scene was simply a lifelong nightmare for her. I'm afraid there is nothing so outrageous in the world. Do it while giving medicine. Although it was not a contraceptive pill, that was my understanding at the time. Being with Li Yuan is indeed an unprecedented experience. She never thought that her life would be like this. She seemed to have reached the pinnacle of her life without doing anything. Although he is lacking in emotional aspects, when compared with Zhang Yuling, he found that everyone is similar. Zhang Yuling, a decent girlfriend and certified wife, is no better than herself. Li Yuan said these words today to defend Zhang Yuling. If it were normal times, he would definitely let Zhang Yuling take the blame, saying that Zhang Yuling insisted on calling him, but he was essentially unwilling. She understands Li Yuan very well, this guy is so hypocritical sometimes. It is really rare to be willing to sacrifice one's own image to protect others now. If one day I do something wrong, will you give me a reason like this? Li Yuan smiled and said, how could Sister Ran do something wrong? If she did, it would not be you who was wrong, but the incident itself. Tisk, 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 this little mouth, let me have a taste, why has it become so sweet? Inexplicably, the child is over 2 years old, and suddenly he feels like he is in love. After a while, Zhou Ranran lay lazily in Li Yuan's arms. Li Yuan asked, why are you not in good condition today? Well, I'm just a little tired. You've been in the gym for more than 2 hours before you came here. Sister Ran, you should exercise in moderation. It does not mean that the more you exercise, the better it is for your body. Especially for some more difficult fitness methods, Even if it can improve a person's limit, there will definitely be some price to pay. Huh? Really? Yes, you are almost developing abdominal muscles, which is abnormal. If your body fat rate is too low, it will tell your body that this is what you crave. Over time, your body's ability to absorb nutrients will decrease. Also, when you exercise, it will increase the burden on certain organs of the body and affect the service life of the organs. I know someone who is very good at maintaining health. I will introduce it to you in a while, and you can learn from her. Is this the reason why you don't exercise? I remember you were not so fast before. Hey, what are you talking about? Do you believe I will let you limp out tomorrow? What's wrong? You want to break my legs? I'll show you why the flowers are so red. Li Yuan's condition is really not good recently, mainly because this month, he can't wander around. Experience is something that will inevitably feel a bit rusty if you don't use it for a long time. Even a body made of iron will rust and need to be polished to restore its luster. However, the process of rusting can also be regarded as a maintenance process. Otherwise, if you polish it every day, the iron pestle can be ground into an embroidery needle. Unless it is B400 rebar. It's a pity that he only has one ring of threads, he is still far from being able to make 100 steels. The loss caused by rust is far less than the loss caused by polishing. Otherwise, those iron tools that have been dug out of the ground for hundreds of years will still be as good as new after the rust is removed. A car that has been returned to the factory for maintenance for a month looks like a new car in the first few days of driving. Is there anything wrong with it? Li Yuan stayed with Zhou Ranran for a while, and before waiting for Wang Qi, he asked, "Where is Xiaoqi? I still want to find her when I come here this time." He's responsible for purchasing things. He doesn't need to take care of the village. But there are still people in your place and they have to eat. That mask factory has basically no business now, but there are still 50 or 60 people working in it, which can meet some of the sales needs of Bixen Mall. Then she and Yao Yingsong. No chance. I asked tentatively a few times. She thinks Yao Yingsong is too old. Li Yuan. Yao Yingsong is still old. Only 28 years old. Then you can talk to Xiaoqi tonight, or you can become a housekeeper and never get married. If you want to get married, just move out of the village. Then I will buy her house and give her 50 million. Li Yuan knew very well that there were many people who wanted to pursue Wang Qi, but it was definitely not because of love. Wang Qi is indeed beautiful, but there are many beautiful girls in the world. Don't say she is not as good as Zhou Ranran, even if she is not indispensable. In terms of ability and courage, he is a few levels behind Zhou Ranran. She is just an ordinary beautiful girl who cannot be more ordinary. For a really powerful person, he would never marry her because it is meaningless. Those who are willing to be with her are nothing more than the connections and resources she currently has access to. But looking at those people, except for Yao Yingsong, most of them are eating Li Yuan's leftovers. There is no point in marrying her, and Li Yuan will not let her touch the core again in the future. If she is asked to move out, how many others will chase her? Even though she was beautiful and attractive, at that time, could she like the person chasing her? Zhou Ranran frowned. It's not good to force her, right? Forced? In my eyes, everything else is useless and has no use at all. Yao Yingsong is also very ordinary. He is a small clerk and his family conditions are also very ordinary. Li Yuan said, at least he hasn't resigned from his previous position yet. Do you know what this means? Yu, Meng Jiangguo and Guo Meng at the same level as him already have annual salaries of several million, plus bonuses and other bonuses. The series of benefits may even earn more than 10 million. Faced with an annual salary of tens of millions, he is not tempted at all. Is this what ordinary people can do? It seems true. If you can't negotiate well, I'll talk to Xiao Qi, and I'll be the villain. She's going to be with Yao Yingsong, and the villa in the village will be reserved for her forever, no matter where she goes in the future. Zhou Ranran took a deep breath and said, "Forget it, let me talk about it. It shouldn't be a big problem." She didn't want Li Yuan to be this evil person. Li Yuan valued Yao Yingsong very much, so no matter what angle he came from, Wang Qi should make some emotional sacrifices. Besides, Wang Qi is not short of money, so what else is there to sacrifice? If others like her, they may not really like her. I took the account book with me. I still have some use for it. Okay. Li Yuan returned home and put away the account book. I was about to check if there was any job information on Bixen, and then, I received a message from Wen Yuxian. From May to now, I have earned 21 million from Oriental Lithium Energy. Where is Senior? Only then did Li Yuan remember that he had made a bet with Wen Yuxian. But he didn't do it at all. After coming back, he was faced with Zhang Yuling's delivery. Immediately after Zhang Yuanqiao started leaving suicide notes, he immediately forgot about it. He immediately checked Qingtian Capital's position in Oriental Lithium Energy and held a total of nearly 1 point of stocks. Good. So he replied to Wen Yuxian, "I waited for you for so long on purpose, so I earned so much." This sentence directly caused Wen Yuxian to raise several questions. Li Yuan explained, "There is nothing we can do about it. Qingtian Capital has no positions. After all, the scale of Qingtian Capital has exceeded 2 trillion. Basically, all the tickets that can be held on the market are held. How can it be like bringing in money? The capital is only tens of billions, so you can do whatever you want." Wen Yuxian. Li Yuan, "I only earn so much. To be honest, if I hadn't promised you before, I would have been too lazy to take action. I will not touch Qingtian Capital's positions. I will use an additional 100 million yuan to surpass you in 3 days. I recommend a good friend's book, A Letter from the Future, every day. It's also a harem story, you can read it if you have time. Since I have made a move to promote the book, I will add another chapter tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. I still owe a chapter today, so I will work overtime to write. I leave this book to you, my best friend." End of chapter. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 347. Li Yuan was trying his best to save his face for forgetting this matter. So the next day, he started. First of all, I reviewed the stock price of Oriental Lithium Energy. With the increase in the price of finished lithium carbonate products, the share price of Oriental Lithium Energy increased a bit. However, the price of lithium carbonate has not gone too far, and the overall increase has been limited. He immediately asked people to release the news that Qingtian Group would release 200,000 tons of finished lithium carbonate to the market at a low price. 200,000 tons. The national output is only 500,000 tons, after all, the production capacity has not been expanded yet. This directly destroyed the expected market price of lithium carbonate. Moreover, Qingtian Group is not spreading false news, but has already started contacting people. In the industry, this is no secret at all. As you can imagine, the entire lithium carbonate sector experienced shocks the next day, with stocks like Oriental Lithium Energy falling directly to the limit. Oriental Lithium Energy has no moat, because it has been poached by Qingtian Group once before. Now its production capacity has been increasing and it is impossible to stop. It's like an engine that has been drained of oil. It's hard to find the oil. It's in the starting stage. You can only keep increasing the accelerator and rush forward, otherwise it will stall at any time. But now that oil is cheaper, the engine will only lose money if it continues to sprint, and the losses will increase more and more. But you just can't stop. If you stop, you have to start from the beginning. Moreover, in order to get some shares, Oriental Lithium has already signed contracts with other companies, and the liquidated damages are astronomical. Wen Yuxian was dumbfounded the next day. Li Yuan's trading methods are simply shameless. She held a large position in Oriental Lithium Energy. A limit drop caused her to lose more than half of her profit of more than 20 million. If there was another limit drop tomorrow, the profit would be reduced to zero. Li Yuan only needs to buy a few shares at will. Even if he doesn't make money, he can win against her. Apart from describing this method as shameless, what else can be used to describe it? But that's the market. The end justifies the means. Whether it is A shares or A stocks, it is very common to use rumors to speculate on topics. After all, finance is essentially a kind of leverage and gambling. Just like buying a lottery ticket worth 500 yuan has an average guaranteed payout of 250 yuan. As a result, someone scraped 300 yuan and missed a penny, so the remaining lottery tickets would definitely be snatched away. Rumors are just like this, they can generate stronger expectations for the company, and naturally, they will be sought after by funds. With funds, stocks have meaning. If you don't have the funds to participate, you won't be able to make any money even if the gods are gone. On the second day alone, Wen Yuxian knew that he would definitely lose. She thought Li Yuan would compete with her on the board, but wouldn't she use this method? She will too. But she never thought about it at all. What kind of strength is this? Isn't this a scam? Li Yuan seemed to have never used this method before, so why did he use it on himself? It was used so skillfully that it hit the 7-inch position directly. He has never done it, so where does his experience come from? Wen Yuxian didn't understand. Another day passed. Oriental Lithium Energy did not fall to the limit, but it once touched 8 points underwater. There was a rebound in the late trading, and Wen Yuxian knew that it was Li Yuan who took action. With just this move, Li Yuan had already won. Another day passed, and the entire sector fluctuated sharply. Wen Yuxian wanted to make some changes during the session. However, every time she thought it was an opportunity, other funds would jump in first. Once it's pulled up, it's not a good buy for her. I originally wanted to make 3 or 4 points of T, but not only did I not make it, I was also educated by other funds. That night, Li Yuan sent the screenshot and added a sentence. I only earned 8 points, all from the positions held in the past 3 days. Those chips have not been touched before. How is the schoolgirl doing? Wen Yuxian. She originally earned 21 million, but now she only has a surplus of less than 2 million. After all, Oriental Lithium Energy's stock price has not gone up. She almost hit the limit twice. She replied, "Are you sure you're not maliciously manipulating the stock market?" What kind of malicious intent? Qingtian Group is indeed negotiating to sell lithium carbonate, and the contract will be signed soon. Wen Yuxian continued to ask, "Senior, don't you think that many retail investors lost their money this time? Because of your own selfish desires, you brought down the entire sector. Since you can make Qingtian Capital dangerous, you shouldn't do such a thing. I admit that I have committed a crime. In order to alleviate my sin, I plan to sell Qingtian Capital next year and become a rich man honestly and no longer participate in the securities market." Wen Yuxian. Is Li Yuan crazy? She just asked Li Yuan whether the impact of doing this was not good, and then Li Yuan said, "I want to atone for my sins and I want to blow myself up. Is it worth it? Although this matter has implications, it is within the rules after all. Qingtian Group is indeed preparing to sell lithium carbonate. It's just that Wen Yuxian felt unwilling to do so, so she magnified the matter and wanted to take advantage of her words. Okay, I admit that I lost. Even if you put aside the off-market tricks, I am not your opponent inside the market. In the past 2 days, Dongfang Lithium Energy has not had an amplitude of 8 points at all, which shows that you are very strong in the market. Has exceeded the amplitude limit, and I am far behind you on this point. If I had known better, I would have just admitted defeat. Li Yuan replied, actually, I won a little bit, and this is exactly what you can't do now. Where? Confidence. I don't lack confidence. It's not confidence in people, but confidence in things. If the two of us change our identities and I encounter this kind of thing, there are at least two ways to solve it. First, I will also use the news to stabilize Oriental Lithium Energy. As long as the stock price stabilizes, you are already in an invincible position. It is impossible for others to get chips at a lower price, let alone in the short term. The second is even simpler. Even if the market crashes, as long as you can fully bear the risk, who dares to continue smashing the chips? You will lose money if you smash the chips. You can even use funds to attract outside funds and give confidence to the funds inside. If you haven't done this, it's not because you don't know about this matter. Confidence or what? Wen Yuxian thought for a while, because I know that Oriental Lithium Energy is indeed not competitive and can only follow the trend. What does the stock market have to do with the company? Why do you want to connect the financial market with the industrial market? What do you care about the fundamentals of Oriental Lithium Energy? It is considered garbage. As long as capital is chasing it and there are funds entering the market, that's it. Good vote. Li Yuan continued, even if the company boss is caught stealing, you can say that the company boss is working hard for performance, and he does not hesitate to take risks to obtain information about hostile companies. Even if he is caught soliciting prostitution, it can be said that it is to expand foreign customers. Actively learn foreign languages. Wen Yuxian. Li Yuan, whether a piece of news is good or bad depends on how you interpret it. When Qingtian Group releases news that it will sell off its inventory of lithium carbonate, shouldn't it be interpreted as a failure of Qingtian Group's layout? Oriental Lithium Energy will get back its previous customers. Lower costs and smoother operations. Why do you have to understand it as an impact on the market? Even if it can really impact the market, you can completely ignore it. Li Yuan, and in the game, you knew you couldn't beat me, so why didn't you make some changes? Why did you have to get to where you thought you were before taking action? You could have taken action earlier to disrupt my rhythm. Do this. It means that you can make less money. You may earn dozens or hundreds of dollars in one operation, excluding various fees. Compared with millions of funds, it is equivalent to making no money. But that is better than letting me make money. The money is better, but once you do that, I will also have no profit, and I will not participate. Wen Yuxian was stunned. Originally she felt that her skills were inferior to others. But after Li Yuan analyzed it like this, he clearly had a good chance of winning. But even with such a great chance of winning, he still lost in the end. As long as you seize an opportunity, the situation may be reversed. Because she has such a huge advantage, it is impossible for Li Yuan to defeat her if he makes one mistake. The clearer Li Yuan spoke, the more uncomfortable she felt. It's like losing 2 kings and 4 twos. I will teach you one last move. There is a martial art in the martial arts called 7-injury fist. Go and understand it. After Li Yuan said this, he stopped talking to Wen Yuxian. And after a while, Wen Yuxian found that the chat history between the two was gone. After all, this is a show of affection, in Li Yuan's own territory. If he had used other communication software, Li Yuan would not have dared to say so much. During dinner, Li Yuan said, I am going to Zhangzhou tomorrow. I may not come back until the next year. It's not okay if he doesn't go. Song Jiajia is almost unable to hold on. She is nearly 6 months pregnant and has been unable to work recently. Chen Ji also had to arrange for someone to take care of her. He only found out about Chen Ji's pregnancy half a month ago. Before that, Chen Ji didn't tell him at all. Li Wanhe frowned, because Li Yuan was gone, and Anna Shen had to go to him. He really didn't know how to communicate with Anna Shen. So far, he has said no more than 10 words to Anna Shen. But he didn't say anything. Zhou Wan, on the other hand, said, with so many things going on at home, can we come back early for the new year? Otherwise we will suddenly be locked up in Zhangzhou again. I didn't come back for the new year last year. Well, I will definitely go back this year. At night, Zhang Yuling leaned on Li Yuan's shoulder and said, don't worry about things in the village. If it's inconvenient for your parents, I will step in. But, you don't need so much money, just enough for us and the children. You can relax a bit at work and don't make yourself so tired. Zhang Yuling was frightened ever since he saw Li Yuan's account. Li Yuan actually has more than 400 billion US dollars abroad. Not to mention domestic ones. Qingtian Capital's current market value has exceeded 150 billion. She took a look at the position information and found that more than 800 billion of the positions belonged to Qingtian Capital itself. It was originally more than 450 billion, but in less than a year, it has almost doubled in the stock market. Although Qingtian Group owes nearly 300 billion in debt, it has more than 200 billion in cash. Add in what others owe to Qingtian Group, and it is almost equal. Qingtian Group holds more shares, some spot goods, and investments in Qingtian Capital. A total of 80 billion has been invested in Qingtian Capital, which is about to double now. How much is Jushin Media worth? The current market value is more than 60 billion. How much is a heart worth? At least it's a base of 300 to 400 billion. Li Yuan's wealth has reached extremely terrifying figures, and his domestic worth may exceed 2 trillion. And the net worth of his richest man is only 300 billion. This money is too much. She knows better than anyone where money is safer. Because Li Yuan helped with some things, even if he had 5 to 600 billion or even trillions, no one would think about it, but what if it was several trillions or even tens of trillions? This amount of money can make anyone in the world excited and crazy about it. With trillions in hand, there is nothing impossible in the world. Even top financial groups like BlackRock may only have a wealth of 500 to 600 billion US dollars, but they are tied to others, so they can stay safe. In the whole world, not a single fat pig is safe and sound. For example, oil can easily breed mold, which is not a lie. Unless Li Yuan intensifies his work and continues to bind more people to his chariot, the more money he has, the more people will care about him. Well, I'm going to do some business down to earth. I lose 30 to 50 billion every year. If I lose money, no one will care about me. After all, worrying about me is not worth the loss. I have to clean up the mess behind me, otherwise who will care about it? I am the one who will be scolded. Li Yuan's answer made Zhang Yuling's eyes light up. What a great idea, husband, you are so smart. Haha, come on, I'll leave tomorrow and let my husband do a nucleic acid test for you. The next day, Li Yuan left home by car. In the last few days, he had made arrangements for everything, rewarded those who deserved rewards, and paid off everything he owed. After returning to Zhangzhou, Li Yuan met Yu Yu. Because Yu Yu wanted to temporarily take over Song Jiajia's position, Vixen Mall also had to take care of it. Of course, the main reason why the two met was because Yu Yu needed to report some other work. For example, school has started, and all the tablets customized by Li Yuan have been distributed, a total of 1 million units. Basically, they are in some rural primary schools, especially those from families with difficulties. To prevent their self-esteem from being damaged because they cannot attend online classes. At the same time, Li Yuan also obtained data on most poverty-stricken areas in the country, and will definitely focus on those areas next. King Hua's project has entered the third stage and currently requires a large amount of funds. According to the plan, it will require at least more than 10 billion, which requires Li Yuan's personal approval. Yu cannot make the decision. This means that the project has at least a 90% chance of success, otherwise Yu would not report it to him and directly refuse it, asking them to continue improving it before finally entering the construction stage. At present, this project has cost less than 500 million in total. After Li Yuan completed the review and approval, Yu hesitated and finally said, "Boss, there is one more thing I want to tell you." End of chapter. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 348. Guo Meng is in love. Li Yuan was shocked when he heard the news. What was shocking was not Guo Meng's love affair, but Yu's performance. Guo Meng is already 29, what's wrong with falling in love? Is there any need to be so hesitant? Yes, I have been paying attention to this matter. Because Guo Meng uses the heart comparison method, I monitored her account. Li Yuan immediately frowned. Yu's behavior was overstepping the bounds. He said with a straight face, "Mr. Yu, if you do this, aren't you afraid that your colleagues will know Han Xin?" Unexpectedly, Yu was not afraid at all. "I only serve the boss. No matter how bad my relationship with my colleagues is, I don't care. What kind of service is this for me?" The boss can keep Guo Meng and increase his salary every year. Doesn't he like her? Li Yuan. He almost wanted to curse. Yu is a piece of shit. Since when did I fall in love with Guo Meng? It was officially announced that they were getting married, but Yu didn't see it. You have gone to your own home, how can you still know? Grass. The image of a scumbag is really easy to misunderstand. Yu is very sensitive to these things because he knows too much. Li Yuan thought for a while and finally held back. He said to Yu, "You are not allowed to monitor your colleagues in the future. Manager Guo and I have a normal relationship as colleagues. It is a good thing that she is in love. Otherwise, if she is almost 30 years old and still can't get married, her parents might blame her." She thought the company was squeezing her time, but we at Qingtian Capital don't do this kind of thing. Yu was shocked. His boss actually let him go? Guo Meng is a beautiful woman, but she is just a little older. But she has a good figure. He was originally afraid that speaking out would make Li Yuan angry, but he didn't expect that he would become a clown. Li Yuan and Guo Meng really don't have an affair? The way Guo Meng looked at Li Yuan looked like he was hooked. Yu has paid a lot of attention to Guo Meng in the past 2 years. It was okay at the beginning, but as he got later, he found that something was wrong with Guo Meng. It's clear that he has thoughts about Li Yuan. But starting this month, Guo Meng suddenly had a very close relationship with a man, and he was a newly added friend with no previous communication records. He can monitor, that is, monitor the usage of the account, and it is impossible to see the specific chat records. Those things are directly entered into the database. Who dares to mess with them? Except for Li Yuan, the boss, or the official law enforcement agency who brings the documents for review, no one else can see the detailed records. Of course, he could certainly do it by using illegal means, but he couldn't commit any illegal acts. Moreover, he had contacted Guo Meng several times and tentatively asked some questions about Li Yuan. It was obvious that Guo Meng no longer had the same feeling as before. As someone who has experienced it, he can understand what this means. He must tell the boss about this matter so that the boss will not suffer a loss. All the status and fame he has now are all given by Li Yuan, otherwise he would be a person eliminated by the times. This year's dividends from Qingtian Capital have been put in place, and Li Yuan is equivalent to taking out his own profits and giving them to the company's employees. Anyone who spends 1 yuan to buy dividend rights will get a 70% return. Yu will receive a share of 3.5 million without having to deduct taxes. Li Yuan even covers the taxes. In the entire Qingtian group, although many people have been expelled, it is basically due to attitude problems, and very few have been expelled due to ability issues. Li Yuan once said that you cannot ask low-level employees to have strong abilities. As long as their work attitude is good, they are qualified employees. And those who were fired because of lack of ability were management. In the Qingtian group, there is no need to socialize, do not need to run sales, and do not need to run relationships. There are also issues with ability, which can only prove to be parallel imports. After finishing this matter, Yu had nothing to report. He just wanted to compare how much money he lost in last month's financial statements and how much he spent on various aspects. He never refuted Li Yuan's decision. After following him for so many years, he only made suggestions once. Even though Li Yuan's original decision was outrageous, practice has proven that it was ultimately moving in a good direction. He is where he is today not because of his powerful abilities, but because of his self-awareness. Li Yuan doesn't have much control over Qingtian capital now, so it's the most stressful stage. Fortunately, Meng Jianguo was replaced, otherwise he would definitely not be able to do so well. Li Yuan delegated too much power. The more delegation of authority, the higher the requirements for the personal capabilities of management. After Yu left, Li Yuan began to look at the project plan of Tsinghua University. Although the money has been approved, you still have to look at it. The plan is relatively solid, which is his favorite style. It is estimated that Yu had others modify it many times, because some traces of modifications still exist. At present, conservatively speaking, there is not much problem in completing the project. That is to say, after more than 10 billion are spent, the project will be completed. But the subsequent operational pressure is not small. Because they cannot reduce the power, basically once the machine is turned on, the electricity consumption is equivalent to the electricity consumption of 1 million medium-sized city residents. And it cannot be stopped casually. Once it is started, it will have to operate for at least 3 months. Domestic lithography machine technology is actually leading the world in many aspects. If not the top, it is almost the same. The biggest problem is the light source. It's not that it can't be made, but it's because of patent protection. If you imitate, you can definitely imitate it, but any products produced using other people's patented technology are not allowed to be sold. In other words, it is useless even if it is produced. Unless China closes itself off and doesn't care about anything, it will use it and imitate you shamelessly. Obviously, that is unrealistic. Moreover, ASML has not authorized any relevant patents, so the entire patent is strictly confidential, and it is difficult to figure out all the details, and imitation will be extremely costly. In the end, there are 3 choices for the location of the factory. One is Sichuan, where water resources are abundant and hydroelectric power has a sufficient period of almost half a year. At that stage, it can fully drive the power consumption of factories. The other side is the grassland, where coal is abundant and thermal power generation is large. Electricity is transported across the country through technology throughout the year. The third one is Jiangzhou. Jiangzhou's advantages are not as good as the first 2, but it is better because of its balance. It has a lot of hydroelectric power generation and a lot of thermal power generation. It also has a rainy season of 3 to 4 months a year. The current 3 site selection priorities are Jiangzhou, 45%, grassland, 30%, and Sichuan and Shu, 25%. Because that factory is more afraid of the movement of the Earth's tectonic plates. Taking into account some other costs, Jiangzhou is almost the only choice, and all conditions are balanced. In Li Yuan's view, as long as he can succeed, he can arrange it in all 3 places. Anyway, it will be the same wherever you fail. In the early stage, choose a more stable place. If it succeeds, there will be huge benefits, and there will be no shortage of mid to high-end chips. It may cause layoffs in some related industries, such as Modu Microelectronics, Quo-ei Microelectronics. These focus on the research and development of lithography machines. It's not necessarily a bad thing. They can be asked to study other tracks. After all, the current field of lithography has almost reached its peak, and there is not much room for improvement. Li Yuan called Mr. Huawei. It's simple, his silicon is conquering Kirin 9000s. At present, the Qinghua team lacks application-related talents. The Kirin 9000s that appeared 3 years later is actually only 14 nanometers, but through his silicon's special architecture, it has core capabilities comparable to 7 nanometers. Cooperation is beneficial, and Li Yuan has never thought of developing the acquired honor as a high-end model. There is no need to compete with domestic companies for jobs, just slowly mix in the mid to low end. For example, he couldn't stand the capital-driven nature of the byte system, but he never wanted to crush them to death. It's not that Li Yuan can't afford to lose money, but since the market needs them, it means they have a need to exist. Healthy competition is okay, but vicious competition will only push various industries into the abyss. In the end, everyone can no longer fight and can only lower the bottom line. He will raise his bottom line just because he is rich. If he is really going to be poor and crazy, there will be no bottom line. Maintaining your own principles and slowly waiting for the market to eliminate them is the best choice. Otherwise, Li Yuan would not be able to handle all the traffic and provide tens or even hundreds of millions of jobs. He is like a red line placed there. All companies must take a look at it and watch as users are lost to him, and changes will naturally occur. I briefly chatted with Mr. Huawei, agreed on a time to meet, and then hung up the phone. It definitely needs to be done in person. This cannot be explained clearly over the phone because both parties have to make some trade-offs. After get off work, Li Yuan did not go home, but went straight to Chenji. Chenji, who was wearing silk pajamas and eating a plate of fruit in her hand, didn't expect Li Yuan to come over suddenly. After all, Li Yuan has the password here, so he doesn't even need to ring the doorbell. After Li Yuan entered the door, he said, "Sister Chen's life is enviable." Chenji stuffed a piece of watermelon into her mouth and said, "What's there to envy? It's just a piece of fruit." Li Yuan smiled and said, "I remember you rarely eat watermelon, saying that watermelon is cold, which is even worse for people with fragile intestines." "I can't help it. I really can't eat anything else recently. Anyway, even if it affects me, it's better than starving to death." While Chenji was talking, Li Yuan had already come to her side, put his hand on her shoulder and said, "Then I will find someone to take care of you. How about Anna Shen? After all, you have taken care of her for 2 months, let her taking care of you for half a year is not too much, right? It's not too much. Let Xu Yanlin take care of me too. I want to sleep on her breast." Li Yuan. "Sister Chen, are you envious of me?" "No, no, no, I can't envy you. This is really talent, and it has little to do with acquired growth. She seems to be starting school." When Li Yuan said this, Chenji's eyes lit up. But Li Yuan then said, "I won't give it to you unless I am present." End of chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 349. Xu Yanlin had been taking online classes in the village in the first half of the year, but she couldn't do it in the second half of the year and had to come to school. The school started a little later than normal, and I came to report after the National Day. Then, I will be trapped in the school and cannot get out. So Xu Yanlin would come over a while in advance, maybe a week at most. Xu Yanlin doesn't know how to cook, so she can only live here. At least there is Cao Yuan here. Therefore, it is good to have more girls, at least they can be used to take care of others. After all, not everyone can cook, not to mention that most people can't eat the food they cook. There are only 3 people around him who can really cook. Chen Ji did the best, followed by Anna Shen and Cao Yuan third. Both Zhou Ranran and Zhang Yuling claimed that they knew how to cook, but in fact the food they cooked was too much for normal people to eat. At night, Li Yuan first got close to Cao Yuan and asked about graduation. Theoretically speaking, Li Yuan also officially graduated this year. It's a pity that he has been absent from school for 3 years. Cao Yuan's problem is not big, but she hasn't gotten her degree certificate yet. The main reason is that I haven't gone to school for my defense yet, and the date is also set for October. We talked about our plans after graduation and our living conditions in the past few months. Cao Yuan didn't go back to her hometown, so she stayed in Zhangzhou. Make your own studio and prepare your graduation thesis at the same time. At the end of the chat, Li Yuan brought up his core topic today. Are you willing to let another girl serve you during the confinement period? For Cao Yuan, social topics are brought into reality. Because there has always been a topic on the internet called if your husband gives you 100,000 yuan a month, would you let him have another woman? The answers below were all, you can serve the mistress during the confinement period. Why do you have to struggle with money? Therefore, Cao Yuan almost didn't think about it and agreed directly. Li Yuan had been laying the groundwork for so long. If he didn't agree, he wouldn't be able to justify it. Another day with Li Yuan. She didn't know how many more times this could happen. The next day, Li Yuan met Mr. Huawei at home. The other party came very quickly, and the reason was well known to everyone. They were in a hurry. As a leader in 5G and a standard setting company, its own products can only use 4G. There is no doubt that this is an embarrassing situation. But it is not this company that is embarrassed, but China. To put it bluntly, this kind of commercial sanctions is essentially part of the game between great powers. The beautiful country does not allow China to have the strength to challenge their technological hegemony. Even if it is to knock a brick on the moat, they will kill the other party at all costs. Not to mention that Huaxia has secretly knocked down a lot of them over the years, and Huawei took the lead in knocking out a large piece of load-bearing pillars. There is no justice or evil, only positions. Cao Yuan served tea to the 2 of them and then left. Her heartbeat was very fast. This was the feeling of following Li Yuan. She never imagined what level of boss she would meet in the next second. She has indeed been raising Li Yuan's threshold, but similarly, Li Yuan has also been raising her threshold. From the beginning, she was just a minor character. After a few years, she gradually started to talk to Li Yuan. Now it was just a coincidence that she was taken by Li Yuan by his side. Even ordinary people dare not look directly at that kind of person. The big bosses would all speak politely to her. Thinking about it this way, taking care of Chen Ji is not something ordinary people can do. No one Li Yuan trusted could come into contact with this matter. She didn't listen to what the 2 sides talked about, and it wasn't what she should have listened to. The 2 parties talked for more than 2 hours, and then Cao Yuan received a message from Li Yuan asking her to make some simple meals. When she came out, Li Yuan and the old man were already standing on the balcony, looking at the scenery downstairs. It's like there are 2 statues, and she is witnessing history. Cao Yuan met Xu Yanlin again. I had met her before, but never said hello, and I also knew that she had had an affair with Li Yuan before. She was surprised by Xu Yanlin's figure, and her charming temperament that revealed her cuteness with every smile. Of course, I was even more surprised by her life choices. She originally thought that only a scumbag woman like herself would take this path, but Xu Yanlin had only talked to Li Yuan. Then he can still accept the current Li Yuan. In her daily life, she cooks for 3 people. Li Yuan goes to the company during the day and spends most of the night with Xu Yanlin. Ever since Xu Yanlin came, she couldn't get him, but Xu Yanlin couldn't live here for more than a few days. About 10 days later, Xu Yanlin left and Li Yuan resumed his nighttime schedule. Naturally, she had more opportunities. After fully entering into his identity and participating in some of Li Yuan's work, he realized how huge it was. Although Li Yuan did not show her the core data, just the documents that needed to be printed out every day could be sold for more than 10 yuan by selling scrap paper. A few days later, she participated in the school's graduation defense and graduated successfully. When she came back, she found that Li Yuan had obtained his degree certificate earlier than she did. It was probably Zhangzhou University that took the initiative to send it. After all, Li Yuan donated 300 million the year before last, and there may be more in the future. 2 days later, she attended her class's graduation party. The entire class is missing several people. Li Yuan was not here, but he arranged for someone to send a few bottles of wine over. Gu Dongshen was not here and he didn't even call back. Chen Qi called back and finally paid the order, but he was still not there. In Li Yuan's dormitory, only Ma Chenkai, as always, occasionally hooked up with a girl in school. It's not that Ma Chenkai is handsome, but there are always some people who have dreams. They believe that as roommates, Ma Chenkai and Li Yuan will have potential in the future. After all, Gu Dongshen and Chen Qi have obviously found their own destination. But those girls who had dreams ended up having their dreams shattered by Ma Chenkai. That night, Cao Yuan used the excuse that she would get married after graduation, which would bring an end to her 4-year college life. Also that night, Li Yuan asked her something. Which sounds better, dawn or morning star? Then she chose Kixing. She saw the news the next day. The first new energy vehicle model under the name of Qingtian Group, the Venus 1, has been pre-ordered and will be delivered one after another in February 2021. The first generation of Venus has 2 models in total, a small sedan with a sharp and fashionable style, and a medium to large sedan for family use. The advantage is that the sofa color TV, large refrigerator, and powerful human-machine interconnection are equipped with the latest L2.999 level of assisted driving, and the level of intelligence is far ahead. Everything else is so-so. 2 of the 3 major components of a traditional car are thrown away. Except for the relatively solid materials used, nothing else is outstanding. The price of small cars starts at 350,000, and the price of medium and large cars starts at 540,000. Cao Yuan felt that no one would buy this, right? End of chapter. They posted it upside down, and I'm actually not satisfied with it. Author, Lao He. Chapter 350. The birth of Kixing Motors was not too shocking because Li Yuan did not buy advertising at all. It only released news on some of its own channels, and even Bixen did not give much traffic for the time being. Cao Yuan pays more attention to these, because she is not only a big fan of Li Yuan, but also a soft fan of Li Yuan. I just think the price is a bit high. She is not a novice, she is also a finance major, and she doesn't understand the significance of Li Yuan's pricing. The brand thing is really subtle. Whether it's the car logo or the name. Kixing Motors is a new force. Its so-called background is equivalent to 0. Selling such a high price will definitely not be popular in the market. Fu Zonghai is Li Yuan's biggest fan. He was so stupid that even when Li Yuan farted, he thought it smelled good. 3 years ago, he was a hard-working worker. Although he received a salary of more than 100,000 yuan a year, he could not find a wife at all. I introduced someone on a blind date at home. He asked for a gift of 200,000 yuan and didn't bring it back. He looked like he didn't want to get married at all. After he refused, she went on a blind date with someone else the next day. Finally, I heard that she filed a lawsuit with her husband because after asking him for a gift of 200,000 yuan, she kept putting off getting married, quarreling with him, and losing her temper. In the end, the man couldn't stand it anymore and took the initiative to break off the engagement. After that, the woman's family refused to refund the bride price at all. What's even more funny is that the court's final ruling only required a refund of 50% of the bride price. In addition, the total amount spent on the girl in more than a year was about 100,000, which was not mentioned at all. Fu Zonghai felt horrified when he thought about it. They talked for a year and spent 300,000 yuan. In the end, he was very angry. After raising his ancestor for a year, the marriage was not consummated and he still lost 200,000 yuan. If he hadn't insisted on getting the money later and worn out the woman's patience, then this matter would definitely have fallen on him. With a loss of 200,000, compared to his situation at the time, the family had worked in vain for 5 years. And now? He originally put 140,000 yuan in Qingtian mixed small and medium caps, but now it has turned into more than 300,000 yuan. And this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that he received the allotment quota because of this position. The allotment of 140,000 yuan, plus the 600,000 cash he raised from selling his house later, bought all the shares of Qingtian Capital at a cost price of more than 3 yuan. Currently, Qingtian Capital's stock has risen by more than 15 yuan. He now has a net worth of more than 4 million. He was still doing his previous job and paid his salary. In addition to keeping his living expenses and rent, he still bought all the stocks of Qingtian Capital. Living in a rented house that picked up leaks, he ate lunch boxes worth 5 yuan or 10 yuan every day. Looking at the money in his account, he felt extremely happy. He posts his positions online every day and tells his experiences. But they are all online names, and they are not known to any real friends. Not just him, there are many like-minded people like him. They are all loyal fans of Li Yuan. In recent years, relying on Qingtian Capital, they have either bought funds or stocks, and their net worth has increased at least 3 to 5 times. Some people have a better foundation and have earned 30 to 50 million. Some people have poorer foundations and earn 5 to 600,000. Fu Zonghai belongs to the middle group. He has experienced the sharp declines of Qingtian mixed small and medium caps, and has also experienced the sharp rises. Today, he saw Qingtian Group released a new car. He immediately said in the group, Yuan Shen has made a car. Comrades, do you want to buy it? Someone in the group immediately responded, nonsense, can you not buy it? I just saw this car and thought it was my dream car. I have already paid the deposit, and I am ranked over 300 in the queue. It is expected to be delivered on February 3rd next year. Damn it, you are such a bitch, you didn't tell us even once you placed the order. You are all so picky. Do you have money in your hands? Cars are not cheap. Let me test the water for you. Do you need to try? Yuan Shen has already tried it for us. When have you ever tricked someone? This is the consensus of the group. Li Yuan will not cheat his own people. They are all loyal Bixen users and never buy anything from other platforms. Fu Zonghai is an alternative, because he is the stingiest. He wants to have 10 million, but currently it is only over 4 million, which is still a long way from his goal. So he said in the group, I have also made a decision. If you don't have enough money in February next year, everyone will lend me some money, and I will pay you back in installments with interest. This group was established by him over the past few years by recruiting various groups of people. From 3 or 4 people at the beginning, it has evolved into 2,000 people now. He didn't dare to show off in real life, but he showed off his account every day online, otherwise how could he contain his excitement? Damn, this bastard Lao Fu actually said he had no money. You have enough money to retire now. The bank's large denomination certificate of deposit can give you close to 4 points, more than 4 million, and the annual interest is almost 200,000. Fu Zonghai said, "Who knows how far inflation will go in the future? How can I compare with your money? This is my only chance in life, and I want to be more greedy." Someone said, "To be honest, I find it difficult." The scale of Qingtian Capital has reached its limit, which can be seen from the fact that Qingtian Capital closed the subscription channel a few days ago. Qingtian Capital closed the subscription channel, which is what happened in the past few days. People who don't follow it every day may not know about it. Many problems can be seen from this incident. For example, Qingtian Capital's carrying capacity has reached its limit and there is no way to continue to attract external funds. Otherwise, all stocks held will have to raise their cards. On the other hand, it can also be seen that Li Yuan is not optimistic about the market outlook, otherwise no matter how much money is put in, there is no reason for Qingtian Capital not to do profitable business. This year, due to the global recession, many big white horses in A shares are skyrocketing. Doubling is a basic trend, and double or triple prices can be seen everywhere. Even better than the big white horse stock grouping in 2019. Medicines, new energy vehicles, lithium batteries, photovoltaics, semiconductors, and liquor are all rising in turn. Although the index has only risen 30% from the lowest point at the beginning of the year, in fact, the overall capacity of A shares has increased from 50 trillion to 80 trillion. Over the past year, the overall performance has been great, with the trading volume of the two cities exceeding 1 trillion every day. Then Qingtian Capital's stock still has hope of becoming the number one in the two markets. Many people think that Qingtian Capital is undervalued, but there is nothing they can do about it. Big funds are only willing to pull it up to this position, and it is impossible to expect retail investors to pull it up. Retail investors will not work together, and a lot of them will run away midway, and the situation cannot be controlled at all. Who knows, it depends on this year's performance. If it far exceeds expectations, there shouldn't be a big problem. After all, there is not much difference. The number one in the two cities is now Maotai's 2,200 billion. This year's performance will definitely not be bad. This is what Fu Zonghai said. Not to mention Qingtian Capital's domestic revenue, the foreign market is also very good. According to their understanding of Li Yuan, this year's scale is much larger than last year, with revenue of 200 to 300 billion possible. In fact, the current market value of 1.5 trillion means that the big institutions' forecast for Qingtian Capital is also 200 to 300 billion in revenue. It is impossible for those big institutions not to know the data they can think of. It's just that they don't want to. Because Qingtian Capital is not in the same camp as them. If so, if such an outrageous company appears, they will definitely blow it to 10 trillion yuan. At this time, Li Yuan was testing the car in the suburbs. He is very satisfied with the car. He can finally get rid of the old machines in his garage. In his eyes, those fuel vehicles are old machines. There are no luxury cars in his garage, they are all cars worth 400 to 500,000 yuan. The interiors are terrible, the engines are in terrible condition, and some even have CD cassettes in them. Those functions can all be put into the museum. As for what are the three big items? Sorry, the tram is not needed. The tram belongs to another track. For about 200,000 yuan, it has a luxurious and stylish interior, spacious space, and an excellent driving experience. At 300,000 yuan, the ride experience is also satisfying. Yu got out of the car. Li Yuan had just driven him around in the car, but he didn't even dare to sit down. He has no confidence in these two cars. Seeing that Li Yuan was in a good mood, he asked, "Boss, is this car really good?" He can't get enough of this car. Li Yuan smiled and said, "Okay, it's very good. Next, I will start to think of ways to hide the LiDAR package for me. I need to pay attention when the next generation is revised, otherwise it will affect the appearance of the entire car too much. Okay. Yu still likes his Mercedes-Benz E. He also wants to wait for a while to buy an S or Maybach for future travel. The company's official car is hunky, which he feels is too fleshy, and he also feels that the brand is not that strong. Also, I will prepare 20 small and medium-sized cars each. They will be shipped to my hometown for registration a year ago. At the same time, people will be arranged to build several charging piles in my hometown. There are some left in the garage. Location. Understand. Li Yuan continued, from now on, the company's management must drive our own cars when attending any meetings or public places. Okay, I'll make arrangements right away. Yu felt that his dream of Mercedes-Benz S was shattered. I guess we can only wait until retirement. After all, compared to driving and working, work is obviously more important. Besides, Li Yuan, the richest man, drives his own car, so he has no reason. Li Yuan asked again, how many vehicles have been ordered so far? There are only more than 500 vehicles at the moment. Well, let's do this for now. It's better to have fewer orders. We should train our service staff well. At least we should tell users where the 3 to 5 million yuan was spent. From the time the car was built to now, it has taken a little more than 2 years. However, it only took a year and a half from setting up the production line to rolling off the new car. Li Yuan can guarantee that this car is 100% made in China and does not use a particularly big brand, including the interior. However, the quality is definitely in accordance with the requirements of the big brands, and there are service agreements signed. If there is a quality problem, the liquidated damages are not low. To put it bluntly, except for the motor, battery, engine, and electronic controls, the things used in cars are not high-tech at all. Genuine leather? Who hasn't ordered real leather yet? Toning. Who doesn't know how to mix colors anymore? Ambient light? Who hasn't? Audio. There's more of that stuff. It's nothing more than that many domestic brands have no brand strength and can only castrate themselves, lower quality and compete in the low-price market. Just like Li Yuan's long-standing principle, he will not directly compete with others. If others are willing to use imported accessories as a selling point, that is their business. He only demands quality. Because he himself is a wealthy family, he is the top brand, and there is no need to use other brands to set off anything. It's not that premium products put together by a bunch of brands are good things, it's more likely to be an IQ tax. The less I have anything, the more I like to brag about foreign things. What foreign big-name speakers, big-name seat leather? Li Yuan will sell services starting from electric cars. Only the service industry can accommodate enough people. The car service industry is just the beginning. Li Yuan drove directly home. His car is a specially made one, with some parts and parameters changed, such as car glass and tires. The software facilities of this car are already full, but what is lacking is the optimization of the car itself. For example, the chassis is not particularly good, not as good as BBA's RMB 3.5 million. These are the objects that need to be improved in the next generation. Unlike Fu Zonghai's idiot fans, many people also knew the news about Li Yuan's car building. After seeing the price, they all had only one feeling. Li Yuan is crazy. Why should a domestic car be sold for 3 to 500,000? Who gave you the courage? Putting aside the remarks of Li Yuan's idiot fans, when passers-by saw the news, no one did not criticize him. It seems that this sign has been discovered, and capital has begun to add fuel to the flames. Scold Li Yuan? To those of them, it's ZZZQ. Li Yuan has too many enemies. They all want to see how Li Yuan will step down if he is so arrogant this time. Therefore, Li Yuan clearly did not advertise, but that night, major platforms began to promote this matter. Many car reviewers appear to be reasonable on the surface, but in fact they are ridiculing that Venus Motor is a piece of garbage and has no experience in building cars. What's more, he directly criticized Li Yuan, saying that this was the biggest strategic mistake Li Yuan had ever made, and that he was not qualified to build a car at all. Those rhetorics are clear and logical, and when a passerby takes a look at them, they make sense. Subconsciously, the Kixing car has been labeled as an IQ tax. Anyone around me who buys one will definitely be laughed at for the rest of his life. I like to tell the truth. Li Yuan's appeal is very strong. This is undeniable. If he were to make a car worth hundreds of thousands, I don't think it would be surprising to sell tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of units a year. But the fact that he can set such a price only shows that he doesn't understand cars at all. A car worth 3 to 5 million yuan depends on brand power, luxury heritage, and most importantly, technology. I'm not saying that, I don't dare to use the spare parts from Kixing Motors for a Mercedes-Benz C costing over 300,000 yuan. I usually choose original factory parts for car repairs. Even if the quality of sub-factory parts is the same, I feel that they are more suitable for luxury cars. It's an insult. And the suppliers of Kixing Motors don't even have the quality of those auxiliary factories. They are just garbage. Whoever buys them will regret it, said a certain multi-million internet celebrity. End of chapter.